Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio.
Welcome back to TexAgs Stacked. I'm Billy Liucci.
Olin Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, let's get into it. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He is OB, Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. Welcome into the show. Buddy, how are you?
I'm doing well this morning.
Are you?
Yeah, got up
You
early.
seem like in a good mood.
I am.
Good sleep?
Not as good as you as I've been having successful sleep lately.
Yeah?
But I was up about 4:00 this morning.
Just on your own?
Yeah, just woke up, kept hoping to go back to sleep and wouldn't do it. So I got up, and the wife got up with me, and we did about a 2.5 mile walk.
Good for you, man.
Then I did my ab workout and my push-ups.
Got to get those six-pack going, buddy.
Well, I'm halfway to a washboard stomach. You know, so a wash tub stomach, so I'm halfway there.
I haven't been getting good sleep recently. I've been kind of cranky. Look, it's like...
Probably goes back to Miami.
It does go back to Miami. A couple things. My mind isn't resting, right? Like it's like Elizabeth brought it up yesterday. Like you go do this, you go do that, you work, right? Whatever. We work, but we work like we watch football. It's a different kind of work. That being said, I've had really bad sleep, and I think it goes back to being busy and losing.
Yeah,
that shouldn't affect me the way it does, but it does.
Yeah, I was quite frustrated, and I would find myself sometimes where I should be trying to sleep, I'd be going back over that game in my mind, thinking, and then I'm thinking, maybe I should have wrote this, maybe I should have wrote that, and
it happens.
It happens.
So here's my pregunta.
Okay.
You know what that means?
I have no idea.
Here's my
Opinion?
question.
Oh, question.
Here's my question. How does the Durkin defense respond this weekend? I'm not talking next. I'm all about ULM.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if they threw a shutout. But what does that tell me? See,
it tells me a lot more than not having a shutout.
Well, I'm not saying they will, but I wouldn't be surprised because ULM's offensive success so far has all been running.
Yep.
And that's one area where the Aggies have gotten a lot better, and they've done really well. So now they do have one receiver that I think is he could be playing at the FBS level and playing pretty well. But if he's the only one that matches up pretty well against you, then you should be able to contain that guy. But
they've thrown for 95 yards a game. That's what they've thrown for.
Yeah. See, they even benched their starting quarterback in the game against Army because he's so ineffective, and they brought in a kid that I think transferred from Louisiana Lafayette as a backup.
Okay.
And so, he threw a touchdown pass, and but they're all about two running backs.
Well, I guess
one of them was a transfer from Ole Miss.
Will we kind of find out that I don't think we will. I was going to say, do we find out if this stopping the run game thing is a real thing? Because Miami was a legit run team. They didn't rely on the run because they didn't have to.
I think we don't know until Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things will not be. Auburn has a pretty nice running back. Can't think of his name right off hand. He was Tank Bigsby's backup last year, kind of a scat back, little guy that was in a little bit of trouble, but obviously that got taken care of.
Noah Kane?
No. He's an LSU guy.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. He's the guy who came from Notre Dame. Where is it? Where'd it go? I just had
the guy from Notre Dame was
Diggs. Diggs.
Yeah, because Kane played against the Aggies last year. But that's LSU. What's the guy's name? It starts with a J. But anyway.
Jarquez Hunter.
Jarquez Hunter. That's exactly.
I have this spreadsheet, and all of them are like, my eyes are going out.
Yeah, believe me, I understand.
I did. Did I tell you this already? That
No.
I woke up, I've had perfect vision most of my life. Even a year ago when I got, it's better than 2020. I woke up about 2 weeks ago and I couldn't read my phone.
Yeah.
And it was in the morning.
And it begins.
So I called iDoc Mike. I called him immediately. I'm like, what's happening to me?
You're getting old.
He's like, I told you, when you get to 45, and I'm 47 now, you get to 45, it goes. There's nothing you can do about it.
And there's other things that are going to start going too.
Oh, no. No, sir. I'm going to outrun it. All right? I'm going to keep working harder. You know me. I'll go to the gym longer. I'll start looking at the sign as long as I can until I get that darn thing right. Anyway,
Okay.
Where were we?
I have Jarquez Hunter.
That'll be a test.
Yes, it will. But I think until they won't get the real exam until they play Arkansas with a running quarterback and a good running back.
Yep. Yeah.
By the way, Arkansas hasn't been running the ball that great.
The Rocket's been hurt.
But right.
And, of course, he'll be 100% healthy when he plays A&M. And, in fact, better than he's ever been. Fresh, right? Like, feeling good. Like, he might have a break, one of those games like, look at Rocket, he's back.
Yeah. Or not. Let's hope not.
No.
But yeah, A&M rarely seems to get that break where, oh, yeah, this is a great player. He's always back for A&M, right?
Always back.
That's all right. You should be good enough to beat them no matter what they've got out there.
Are you interested at all in this BYU-Arkansas game?
Yeah, of course I am.
I am too.
We'll
talk about it when we do Pick 6, but there's a part of me that's like, kind of want to buy into BYU a little bit.
Arkansas beat them pretty good last year.
They did.
Now,
they were trailing, and then Arkansas went like on a roll.
Right.
It was like a second quarter just run.
And I haven't actually got to watch BYU. I've seen scores and a couple of highlights here and there. But and Arkansas's not yet playing to the ability that they have. But I would still think, and that game is in Fayetteville. So I would think, I would think Arkansas is good enough to beat BYU.
OB, let's do the game we play. 3 things that we want to see this weekend.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll be very similar.
I'm going to change some things up, though.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah, because I say this, every week, and it goes for every game. I want to see them take care of the ball. I want to see a pass rush, and I want to see pass protection, right?
Okay.
So that goes without saying, right? This is like playing Wheel of Fortune, and they give you, certain letters, right? And now, okay, all right, thank you for that. They give you
thank
STR.
you, Vanna.
Now, here's the other one. So I want to see, damn it, I want to see Moose Muhammad.
You used the D word. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, the last time I was seeing him last year, he's making plays left and right. One-handed catches here, going up for 50-50 balls. It's on and getting them. It's on our intro. And he had one target last week. One. He turned into a 15-yard gain on third down.
And not much the week prior.
Right.
I think he had 3 the week prior.
And I know that A&M is stacked at receiver, but I just think that he's too good not to work him in. I mean, you have a rotation in the defensive line like crazy, right? Why can't you work Moose into a rotation at receiver?
Right.
Okay. So I want to see that.
You will see Moose. Let the Moose get loose.
I want to see, yes, the Moose has been corralled.
By the way, this is going to sound similar to mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Continue on.
Okay. So I would like to see, I kind of touched on it. I would like to see less of a rotation on defense. Okay. I would like to see the guys you identify as your best defensive lineman play 75% of the snaps. Does that make sense at all?
It makes sense. It totally does.
Because you could say, well, I'm trying to keep them fresh, so, wear down. Well, A&M kept them fresh last week, and they gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Okay, so that's something I'd like to see. And I would like to see a team with even against ULM, an absolute no mercy mentality, kind of like LSU and Grambling. That game was like 21-10, in the second quarter.
Right.
And then LSU said enough of this and won it like 72-10. So that's like, I want to see you take all your frustrations out on ULM. And it still won't tell us anything, but other than A&M's a bunch of big bullies. But you know what?
Be a freaking bully. Be a freaking bully.
Yeah.
All right, here are my 3 things.
Okay.
First one, let the moose get loose.
How about that? We're on the same page there.
With Anais doing some trickery. So mine's kind of a 2-headed combo there because I want to see those guys matter. I love how Noah matters. Keep it going. I love how Evan matters. Keep it going. But I think there's enough love to give the moose.
Yeah.
And enough love to figure out different ways to use Anais. Put him in the backfield, split him back out, whatever. Trick the fools, right? Like we've got Bobby. Let's do some Petrinoism, all right?
Because we didn't see enough motion, pre-snap motion. We saw some, but not a whole lot last week.
I want to see it, and maybe we don't see it this week, but I'd like to see those guys get some touches, okay? This is an easy one. I say it every week, but I really need to see it moving forward. Protect 15. If you see a guy, block the guy. That's my simple phrase. See the guy, block the guy, right? In the opposite jersey. That's simple. If you see a guy coming at your QB, you don't watch, don't get slow, get into him. Just block the guy. I think there was some confusion last week. No more confusion.
You know, after this game, as crazy as it sounds, you'll already be 1/4 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
How long does it take to figure it out?
So, again, I use my children as examples. Isla didn't do great on some tests. Got like an 81 or whatever, right? And that's fine. But I said, all right, you know what you're going to do? You're going to go to tutoring every morning until you get that grade back up to an A. And that's it. That's what we're going to do. So go to line tutoring, and let's figure it out, guys. Let's get back to the basics. Because I know this team last year, as the season went on, they got better. Okay, so whatever, let's expedite that process. You look like you're going to say something.
I was just thinking how my mom would say, you brought home, you got a B-, let's go get some ice cream. You're not a dumbass anymore.
Well, sorry, 81 ain't going to fly. Not when I know
By the
you're
way,
capable of an A.
That was my jersey number.
Number 81?
81, yeah.
Wow.
Me and T.O.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that has nothing to do with anything. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
In what sport?
Football.
Oh, you play football?
Yeah.
I'm kidding, I'm joking.
My high school football coach is probably listening right now.
So let the moose get loose, protect Connor, block a jersey, block him. And here's the simple one, but it's not so simple. I want an actual pass rush, but I want it from multiple levels. I would just take one level at this point, but what I mean is not just Damani blitzing, right? Like, how about somebody off the edge?
Well, they did that in the first game.
But I want more than that.
Yeah.
I want it to be with the amount of guys that we know that are on that defense. When we say pass rush, it means it could come from the edge, it can come from the middle, it might be a blitz.
I have what I don't want to see is never. Of course, I say this for everybody, and I know sometimes it works. I say never, ever, ever rush 3. To me, what's supposed to be, of course, we're not seeing it, but to me, what's supposed to be, we talked about this earlier, the strength of your team is your defensive line.
Right.
So why would I then rush 3 against 5? Because, hey, I'm going to equalize
But
this.
it's not the strength of the team. Until they prove it, it's not, right?
Oh, it's supposed to be. But are you ever going to prove it going 3 against 5?
But I thought when you rewatched the film, it wasn't.
It wasn't that. I say never, ever. And you know what? On one of their plays last week, they rushed 3, and it was on 3rd and 8, and they got off the field.
Bro, I'm good with 2,
made the
rushing
play.
2 if it's going to work.
Well, yeah, if it gets you off the field.
Whatever's going to get you off the field, let's do it. So those are my 3. An actual pass rush from different. Sometimes it doesn't take trickery to get a pass rush. You don't have to disguise. Like, just win the battle. Protect Connor. Let the moose get loose. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. Text us 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. You can call that number as well. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all? It's Friday. It's a good day.
Yes, it is. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm going to steal a little note from our very own statistician / social center host, Luke Evangelist, put it down on the rundown. While Texas A&M was 1-5 in week 2 under Jimbo Fisher, They are 5-0 in week 3, and that's not just against a bunch of cupcakes. That comes against number 13 Miami last season in 2020, number 4 Florida.
Oh, that was legitimate.
Yeah, but there were a couple of cupcakes in there. New Mexico in 21, Lamar 2019, and UL Monroe in 2018, which they beat 48-10. So hopefully we get some more of that.
Have you noticed that fans that are grumpy don't want to hear good news? They just want to stay in the bad news.
Okay, what's the good news?
No. I'm just saying, like, Nick has some optimism there because week 3 is typically. But I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, I don't care.
Yeah,
get back to me at LSU.
I'm kind of at the point where I agree with them. It's okay. They're 5-0. Well, that Miami team really was a 5-7 team that you beat. But Florida
was
in 2000, that was a legit win. That was a outstanding Florida team. That was Kyle Pitts, Kyle Trask, and Kadarius Toney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a heck of a team, and that was a heck of a game. And if you can bounce back like you did in 2020 and have this great run, again, all is forgiven. We'll be loving Jimbo. We'll be loving DJ Durkin and all those things if you can do that. But you're not going to know that you've turned it around like you did against Florida by beating ULM.
Yep. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. The Angry Elephant, no matter your affiliation, you're guaranteed to discover drinks and meals to pledge your allegiance to at the Angry Elephant. I think you like that one.
But I'm partial to liberal drinks at conservative prices.
Yep.
I like that.
By the way, next Friday, we're going to be doing our show from the Angry Elephant. I don't have all the details, but I know we'll be there, and they're going to open up a little early, so I'll let the folks know when I get those details. But Fridays on this show are typically the final countdown. I've got maybe SEC Shorts stopping by,
Really?
so it's going to be a fun show.
Can I call it the pissed off pachyderm?
Pardon?
The pissed off pachyderm?
I like it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Hannah Harrison, hello.
Good morning, y'all. How are you doing?
We're doing all right. How are you?
Yeah,
doing good.
Yeah, I mean,
sitting over here chilling.
For you know what we're going to be doing.
Have you ever used the term chilling?
Yeah,
you have. Okay.
Yeah,
I'd
be
good
chilling.
Term. Yeah,
I'd be chilling.
I'd be chilling.
Have you ever said "What up, dog"?
Have I said
No,
what up, dog?
No.
I've never said
"What up, G."
No, I've said "what up" before.
Okay, but not "What up, dog."
No.
Okay.
Except maybe if I was talking to Buck.
Hello, dog.
He's my dog. All right, Hannah Harrison.
Yes, sir.
From New Braunfels, Texas.
Yes, sir. OB, realistically, how many sacks do you want to see this week against Monroe?
Realistic number of sacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's ULM.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though they run the ball so much.
Well, yeah, but if they don't run it successfully,
they'll have to
then
pass.
they're going to have to pass.
Yep. 5 sacks.
Yeah, I think that's
I'd
probably
say
a
at
good...
least 4, 1 1/4, but 5.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw the Cowboys get 7 the other night.
Pretty good defense against the Giants, but pretty good defense.
So 5.
5. All right, put it down. Okay, so David in the Pacific Northwest.
Cinco Sacco.
Okay, all right. No, yeah. So I have a statement that I'm going to turn into a question for you,
ma'am.
okay? So David says this is the worst Aggie pass defense since the 2005 season.
Wait, when you say David, not this David.
Not you, David.
Okay.
No, in the Pacific Northwest. You're here in College Station. But do you think that this is the worst pass defense since 2005?
That's a lot of things.
Boy,
I have
that
to go
2013 was pretty heinous.
Yeah.
I don't.
We need more information.
I don't think we need more information. And off the top of my head, I would say no, because I thought 2013 was the worst defense I've ever seen at A&M.
It better not be. Honestly, we've been building towards this. We thought crescendo. It better not be that bad.
Yeah, we'd hope not. Go back and look again, David, up the North Pacific. And thanks for playing, David, in the Pacific Northwest. We appreciate your input. But go back and look at 2013.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, it was heinous.
What else, Hannah?
In 2012, Johnny lost his first game, and they went 10-2 and got to the Cotton Bowl. Do we think that can be results for this year?
Well, can it? Yes.
Yes, it can.
But I'm not a big hey, this happened in this year. That means it can happen in this year. I'm too in the moment. Yeah, I know it's possible. right? But like, I'm more like, let's go.
Well, you said it earlier this week. Here's the reason why, the number one reason why you can feel somewhat confident that A&M's going to turn this around and be able to go on a roll, and it's number 15. It's Connor Wigman. He's playing so well. And they lost. They scored 33 points, and this while playing not that great. Remember, leaving 8 points on the field just by not being physical.
Right.
So that should have scored 40.
Yeah.
If you can score a lot of points, then you can have a chance to just outscore opponents. I don't think you want to count on that. So, hey, start tackling better and be more physical on offense. I'm talking to you receivers. And, you could turn it around, but you're going to have to see that.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, the matchups brought to you by Bach Realty. We'll get into those here in a moment. All right, so it is Friday. I know you probably want some meat. Well, you do have an option at Fargo's, OB.
Yeah, because, some of us, not me, but some people of us out there don't eat, red meat on Fridays. It's a religious thing. Well, you can go to Fargo's and have a religious experience for lunch with the 4 C's.
Crunchy.
You can get some catfish.
Okay, that's the number one.
Yeah. You can get some coleslaw.
Yeah.
You can get some corn.
Yeah.
And you can get those crunchy hush puppies.
Gosh, it's good, right? It's really good, yeah.
I would pray for thanks for those hush puppies.
I know. I saw it on the
Thank you,
boards.
Lord.
Some folks went right before the game a couple of weeks back, right?
I
And they
bet
went to Fargo. So on a Saturday.
Did they get red tips?
Well, they better have. They didn't put their menu, but they put that they went.
Well, if you go on a Saturday, of course, you may have to either get there really early or call ahead of time to reserve, like you would at some places, a table. You've got to reserve the rib tips, and it's worth it. And I have no reservations about telling you to make reservations for the rib tips because they're that good.
You're a wordsmith.
That's all I got.
Well, you don't have to downplay the rest of your life right here.
I've made a career out of it.
Well, we both have, buddy.
But I would like to make a career out of just eating rib tips at Fargo's.
Well, we can arrange that. They're looking for somebody.
Yeah, if they would pay me. You know what they also have? I don't know when they have. I don't know when it's available. So they make spaghetti with rib tips.
They brought it to you once,
yes,
right?
And it was spectacular.
Oh, that sounds good.
Real spicy.
They've been around for 22 years, 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the best what?
It's the best barbecue in Texas, which means that it is the best barbecue in the world.
That is correct. That's their trademark because it's absolutely true. They're turning off your mic. They don't care. It is Fargo's. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looked so good with Maroon You. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan with you here on Saturday, September the 15th.
It's actually Friday.
So why did I say Saturday?
I don't know, but you know it's payday.
Is it?
Yeah.
You do know when it's payday.
Heck yeah, I do.
You do know. Anyway, sorry, Friday. I wish it were Saturday because I need some real football. I need to wash that loss off. It is now time for OB's matchups presented by Bach Realty. Bach Realty Group, brokered by Real, is a full-service residential real estate team run by former TexAgs Radio host Gabe Bach and his wife Megan. Megan, Gabe, and their team are ready to help you from luxury to new construction to farm and ranch and first-time home buyers, investment properties, and much, much more. Let Bach Realty Group be the Aggies you trust for all of your real estate needs. Let's get into these matchups, my friend.
Well, let's talk about some of the more obvious ones right away.
Okay.
How about that ULM running game against the A&M run defense? By the running game, we're talking about running backs Hunter Smith and Isaiah Woolard. Hunter Smith has had two back-to-back 100-yard gains. He had a long touchdown run, 62 yards, and that went over Army. So back-to-back 100-yard gains from this guy. And then Isaiah Woolard, grad transfer from Ole Miss. He once ran for 64 yards against Texas A&M when he was playing in Oxford. Right now, 169 yards on just 24 carries. 75%. Listen to this. 75% of his yardage gain has come after contact.
Right.
So,
and we already know that this team has struggled with contact.
Yeah, all we can do is hope that they don't throw to him.
Right. Well, yards after catch, not contact. But yes, same thing. That's the strength of their team. Well, A&M has done really well. No team has rushed for over 100 yards against them yet. They're 25th, I think, in the nation in run defense, maybe 30th, which is an enormous step from what they were a year ago. So I think that is a matchup of strength against strength. Strength against strength. But is it really going to be a strength for ULM?
Well,
we'll find
we
out.
would think that A&M has the advantage there. They don't go out and prove it. But what they have done well, if you're looking for anything that they've done well, it's running the football.
Hey, and I'm sorry, it is real easy to get mad about certain things, and I understand why we get mad, but you do have to give props. That was their biggest issue defensively last year. They have corrected it so far.
They have.
Now they just need to correct everything. Continue.
Right. Okay. Let's look at what I think is going to be, and I'm going to bounce around from offense to defense. What I think is going to be a really interesting individual matchup. The best player on ULM's defense is Aiden Huntington. He's a defensive tackle, nose guard. It's a nose guard. They call him a defensive tackle, but it's they run a three-man front.
Yeah.
So more often than not, he's going to be right over Bryce Foster. Perhaps arguably your best offensive lineman against their best defensive lineman. So if this guy, by the way, leads their team with 19 tackles as an interior defensive lineman leading the team. So I think if they're going to have any defensive success, it's going to start with Aiden Huntington. Did I mention that he was a transfer from Kent State?
I think you did earlier.
Yeah, earlier. He is a transfer from Kent State. He had I think he had 4 tackles the last time A&M played Kent State. So he is reasonably active in that game. But if Bryce Foster just controls him, I think that's a good indicator that A&M's going to have continued success against them.
Okay.
And to go along with that, let's just say A&M's running backs against that defense. And if you want to get it down to individuals, we're talking about Amari Daniels, maybe Le'Veon Moss. I don't know if he's going to be available. And Ruben Owens, who I think we need to see a lot more of against the middle linebacker, Michael Batten. Michael Batten was a high school quarterback at Seven Lakes in Katy.
Is that right?
That's right. And he went up to a junior college up in New York, played some quarterback for a while, but felt like if he needed to keep playing, he was going to move to linebacker. And he's actually been really good. last season he had 45 tackles and averaged 10.3 tackles in the last 3 games. And so far this year, they call him Batman, by the way.
I like him already.
I knew you would. I guess I don't know if it comes from the fact that his name is Batten, or that he's such a good player. He's everywhere like Batman. I would think you would hope for that. But anyway, so far this year, 17 tackles, got one for a 4-yard loss and a sack. So it's a lot of it's gonna be on him. As I say, he's middle linebacker. He's an inside linebacker to run down those A&M running backs. So I think that's an interesting matchup.
Michael Batten. Let's get one more in there.
How about Tyrone Howell? Tyrone Howell is a wide receiver, a transfer from Kansas State. Kansas State's produced some pretty good receivers.
Yeah, they have.
He had the 9-yard game-winning touchdown pass with less than 3 minutes to go in that win over, obviously game-winning, in that game against Army. Last week against Lamar, 4 catches, 65 yards. Last season, 50 catches for 852 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he has some big play ability to him. So, and after what we saw last week, we have a secondary, especially the corners, that he's going to challenge, whether that be Chappelle or DeBerry or anybody else.
Sure.
Not only are they going to have to show that they can cover this guy, but he's going to make some catches, and then they're going to have to prove that they can tackle him.
All right, there it is. That is our matchups here on TexAgs Radio, brought to you by Bach Realty Group. I used Gabe and Megan when we were moving to town. Actually, I knew I was going to use them right away. Called them up, and it was such a simple process. And pit bulls over there, whenever there's any issues, they take care of it right away. So thank you to Gabe and company and Megan, of course. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, OB, we're going to talk a little bit about pick 6 time. We're going to go through some of the games. All right, we'll get that and more. But before we do that, Heritage Films time, Chance McClain's company. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. They make documentary films about your family. They make it about your dad, your uncle, whomever it may be. It's an awesome thing to do. I highly recommend it because it can be like a family event. Not only the video, the shooting, right? The actual process of it's going to be a cool family event. But then watching it months later together, everybody, inviting like the aunts and uncles that you don't even like that much, but that you got to kind of mention them in the video. That part is very cool. We didn't do that because my dad's old. My dad's 93. I don't have that many aunts and uncles still around. That being said, it was a great process with my kids being there and getting to hear my dad tell his story and my mom being there and my brother. It was kind of an emotional thing. It was great. And I highly recommend that you do it. And also, you can do it for the kiddos too, right? Like you're thinking, why would I do a little documentary film about your kiddos? Well, let's talk about 10 years from now. Like, those Facebook memories that pop up. You're like, oh, look how cute little so-and-so was. Well, imagine that, but with audio, video, conversations all put together. Or we're talking about like a Facebook memory for 20 minutes. Yeah, much better than what you get with a little pop-up. That's what Chance does there with Heritage Films. That is called the Year Flicks. You want to jump on that. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. And we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio here during the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Well, you seem a little distracted this morning. You've been on your phone a lot.
Yeah, well, I just got a text to find out that my beautiful niece, Addison Vega, senior down in Los Fresnos High School down in the Valley, got accepted into the Texas A&M School of Architecture.
Let's go.
Yeah, I've just found that out, so that's exciting.
That's great news. Yeah.
She's amazing.
All right.
So hopefully she'll be coming up here and being an Aggie.
Well, it's a smart play.
And building stuff.
Building stuff and just being a boss.
Building crap, being an Aggie.
So it's time to do a little pick six. And I didn't have a good week. You actually had a pretty good week. But overall, our record, everybody, is very close. Billy's in first place at 7-5.
Yeah.
Everybody else is 6-6.
Well, did you ever see that movie, Mr. Mom?
Yeah, great.
Remember
movie.
the boss that had that obstacle course?
Yeah.
And you have to let the boss win?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're going. We got to let the boss win.
What was it? The potato sack jump?
It was all kinds of
crazy
things. So, we got to let the boss win.
Well, he's up at 7-5. Everybody else, 6-6.
It's a log jam.
OB, the McKinneys, Caroline Fenn, Rocco Robinson, all at 6-6. All right, let's get into it. Number one game to discuss, number 15, Kansas State at 2-0, at Missouri, who's also 2-0, 11 a.m. there from Memorial Stadium. Kansas State is favored to win by 5.5.
Yeah, I'll take Kansas State in that game. I think they can win that by a touchdown. I know Missouri's 2-0, but I just got a feeling that Kansas State is a touchdown better. And, by the way, I have to completely abandon what's usually my policy of always taking an SEC team in a non-conference game because that hadn't been working for me this year.
Well, I'm hoping that Kansas State is that team that knocks off a team close by, and I need them to be really good. And I just think they are really good. I think they are. I think they're going to win by at least a touchdown. So I'm going Kansas State as well. We go to the game number 2. Number 14, LSU at 1-1 at Mississippi State. 11 a.m. at Davis Wade Stadium, Scott Field, ESPN broadcast. LSU favored by 8.5.
Man, this is a tough one for me.
It is tough too. Yeah.
It's in Starkville with all those godforsaken cowbells, and I don't know what to think of LSU, but I'm still gonna roll with the Tigers this week. I'm gonna give that 8.5 up, and I don't feel good about it, but
I don't like that number.
It'd make my son happy.
If it were. I don't know.
I don't like the number either.
I don't like the number. I'm going Mississippi State. Okay. I think LSU's going to win. I do. But this is my gut is like, I think I'm being dumb.
No.
But there's a strategy behind my dumbness.
Okay.
And there actually isn't a strategy.
There's
I
not
just
a
said that.
strategy.
But in my mind, I feel like it could work out advantageously. Because I do think LSU wins. I'm not that impressed with LSU.
Neither am I.
Mississippi State did struggle
against Arizona,
and Arizona
they won
score.
But it was overtime. Arizona doesn't make me feel good.
Cowbell Central, let's go. Yeah. I'm going Mississippi State.
Okay, all right.
This next one, I hate the number.
I hate the number.
South Carolina, 1-1, and I don't think they're that good. All right, you know how I feel about them. Versus Georgia at 2-0. We all know how we feel about Georgia. Sanford Stadium, CBS broadcast. Georgia favored by 27.5. That's a big number against a team that I think they're significantly better than. But a quarterback who's playing well. Defense hasn't been tested at Georgia. Do they need to be tested?
Yeah, see, that's what I don't get about Georgia right now. You know how many sacks Georgia has so far this year?
4.
Try again.
Higher or lower?
Lower.
What?
Yes.
How many does A&M have?
A&M has like 4.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
1.
1 set? No.
1. Now maybe they've haven't and South Carolina's already given up 10. I have to believe that Georgia's just waiting for a reason to play harder, and this is the reason. So, as crazy as that number is, I'm going to go ahead and take Georgia and give 27.5. I'm saying Georgia's going to win 35-7.
Vamos a ver. You got something there, OB. You got something there. I've been teetering on this one. I've been going back and forth.
I've got something there.
All right.
You mean like dementia?
Well, yes. I am going Georgia.
Okay.
I'm going Georgia,
So
too.
we're on
I wasn't earlier, but I was kind of starting to go in that direction, and you just gave me the little nudge.
Well, they scored, 17 against North Carolina? I'm talking about
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I figure they'll score at least a touchdown less against Georgia.
Number 11, Tennessee at Florida. 6 o'clock, Florida Field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. ESPN broadcast. Tennessee favored by 7.5.
Florida's defense is actually playing pretty well.
They got a great front.
And the whole offseason, I expressed some doubts about how explosive Tennessee's offense was going to be. And it looked good against Virginia, but then you see James Madison put up 36 on Virginia. So what do you really know about Tennessee? I'm going to go ahead and take Tennessee. I'm going to take the safe bet this one, but I could see Florida keeping this close. Last year, Florida lost only by like 5 points.
Yeah. I think I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to go Tennessee. Yeah, I'm going Tennessee. I think Florida's a better defensive team, but they've got their issues. Joe Milton has not impressed yet. He has not.
Actually, Graham Mertz has thrown for more yards than Joe Milton.
Yeah.
I might not be right at that.
But I still think Tennessee is able to win by 10, 15 points. So I'm going to go Tennessee.
You know who I'm going to root for?
For both of them to lose?
I'm going to root. I guess I may root for Florida.
Okay. Even though you just picked Tennessee.
You know who's going to be in trouble if they lose?
Who's that?
Is Billy Napier. Last year, Florida has 3 major rivals.
Yep.
Florida State, Georgia, and Tennessee. He was 0-3 against those guys.
You cannot lose to your rivals.
If you lose to Tennessee, you're probably going to be 0-6 against your move
All right, let's go move to the next one. The next one is BYU at Arkansas. Both teams are 2-0. It's at Razorback Stadium, ESPN 2 broadcast. Arkansas favored by a touchdown and a half, 7.5.
I'm taking the Hogs.
I'm hoping that there was a lady who just turned the station on at that one moment as you were doing that exact noise and wondering, what did I just get into? That's what I'm hoping.
She got into the hog pen.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten away from. You used to do these for all the mascots.
Does that sound like a pig?
It does.
They snort.
What does a cougar sound like?
Did the squeal? What does a cougar sound like?
Yeah.
Hey, young man, how are you doing?
You were going to go there. I did. So you're taking Arkansas?
I am going to take the Hogs.
Chase in Houston tells me BYU is terrible.
So you're consulting outside sources?
No, he just sent the text.
Okay.
Yeah.
They may be. I mean, they beat Sam Houston 14-0, and I don't know what Sam Houston is. Are they the Sam Houston that last year that struggled, or have they rebooted and are about to be the Sam Houston that we used to see dominate in their previous division?
All right, I'm going to go Arkansas because it's SEC, and BYU just got to show me more, guys. So I'm going Arkansas. Okay. I am interested because no Rocket Sanders so far, right?
So far.
Of course, he'll be healthy when we play him.
Of course he will.
1,000%. He'll be the best he's ever been. But
they will put their best team out there against A&M. A&M means so much to them.
It does. Last game. I hate this number. ULM. I said that a lot today. At Texas A&M.
Aggies.
3 o'clock, Kyle Field.
36.5. I think this is going to be just like New Mexico, if not worse. So I'll take the Aggies, and I'll give that 36.5, and I'll probably feel better about this game than maybe any other ones we've picked.
What was the spread for that first game? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Gosh, I remember the Alamo, but I don't really remember.
March 6, 1836.
But I don't really remember.
I've got that information right here, buddy, if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. What was that line?
That line for that
against
game.
Those
37.5.
37.5. So this 36.5. Well,
Jerry, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that was said on Seinfeld, but it felt like a Seinfeld moment. I'm going A&M too.
I remember Kramer saying, "I'm out."
That was a good episode. One of the best ones.
It was.
I was one of the best ones. All right.
The master of your
own domain. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm the master of this show right now. We're
Hannah
going to
has no idea what we're talking about.
Well, she better not. Yeah. Let's hope she doesn't. Let's hit a break. We will come back with Bank on It and Around Aggie Land. Right now we're talking Charge Apparel. Talking to my guys yesterday. Tucker and Travis out there. They got a new polos coming out, maroon. I'm going to be all about that one when it gets here. Charge Apparel is an Aggie-owned, purpose-driven apparel brand. They're veteran-owned and operated, and they donate 12% of their total sales to organizations that support U.S. veterans and mental health initiatives. The clothes are awesome. If you have not tried them, go to the website and check it out, thechargeapparel.com. Try them on, too. I'm telling you, you don't even have to. Like, just know your size, put it on. You're going to be like, wow, this fits fantastic. Every time I wear it, people are like, that doesn't fit you too tight. That doesn't fit you too loose. It fits you the right way. That is because that's what they do there at the Charge Apparel. Great clothes that are slightly tailored fit through your chest and your arms, designed to make you look and feel your absolute best. Remember, they're two great Aggies, class of 2014, that met in the Parsons Mounted Cavalry in the Corps. You had Tucker, member of E2, and Travis, Squadron 2, and then they went their separate ways. Tucker commissioned to the U.S. Army, Travis going to the Air Force. Afterwards, they started this awesome company called the Charge Apparel. The website, again, is thechargeapparel.com, or find them on Instagram at The Charge Apparel or Twitter, The Charge Brand. It's The Charge Apparel. All right, let's knock it out real quick, guys. We've got Bank On It presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com. What are you banking on?
I'm banking on A&M not just winning but covering, like we just talked about. I'm banking on Connor Wigman having another big day, and I'm banking on the secondary having a better day than they did last week. But more than anything, I'm banking on that 40-point win. Take it to the bank. Deposit some money in the bank.
I'm banking on Ruben Owens having a couple touchdowns. All right, that's
I want to see more of him.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of him. banking on seeing him. I'd like to bank on Anais and Moose, but until I see them getting the ball more, I won't know. But I'm definitely banking on Reuben Owens.
Pearl of the Prairie.
Time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank rocks solid banking. The website, normandystatebank.com. Kay Nagley.
As we all know, Aggie football looks to bounce back this weekend with the win over Louisiana Monroe. You can catch all that action on SEC Network, but wanted to get into some different sports news, some things that we're not covering as much. Baseball just announced its schedule for this upcoming season. Wanted to run through a couple of those home games. They will play Mississippi State here, Auburn here, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, and then Arkansas here as well. That is their home slate. And then on the road, they have Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss. Those will be some good tests on the road.
It's a lot of tough games.
It is. I mean, SEC baseball it's a tough one. Continuing on the Diamond Sports, softball announced their 2023 fall schedule, which features five home events and then also two road matchups. They will play Texas State, followed with road pairings with A&M Commerce, and then Texas on October 18th. They will also host Blinn College, McLennan Community College, and then Texas Women's University. They will also have a maroon and white scrimmage in there. Going to continue on sports not going on. Basketball, men and women's basketball players Henry Coleman and Jada Malone were selected to represent the Aggies at the SEC Basketball Leadership Council. That will be this September 15th, so that's starting today, so that's awesome to see. Let's get into some current sports. Unfortunately, volleyball lost to number 22 Houston this past week, but they will close out their non-conference slate today, actually, as they host Liberty at Reed Arena, and that first serve is set for noon, so hopefully they can catch a win there right before SEC play. And then soccer will open this SEC slate today. That they welcome one of the hottest teams in the conference, Kentucky. That is a 7 p.m. kick, and then the Aggies will also host Texas Southern on Sunday at 6 p.m. And then finally, some Texas A&M women's golf news. They finished the Annika Intercollegiate in 5th on Wednesday after shooting an even par 288 round on the final day. So, I mean, heck of a lot of stuff going on right now.
Appreciate you, Kay. Thanks very much.
Of course.
OB?
Yep.
Final thoughts before we say goodbye to the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
Just go out there tomorrow and dominate. You know, be a bully, push around the little guy. Sometimes you just got to do that. You got to remind everybody what you are.
Show me that offense that we saw week 1 where you can go down the field, protect Connor enough to go down the field, and if you want to establish the run, which you should, do it.
I want to see the defense have a spectacular game. If you can't be spectacular against ULM, when are you going to be spectacular?
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Andy Staples from On 3. Billy will be joining us, plus the final countdown in the 10 o'clock hour with both Steve and Seth. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I'm assuming Andy and I are similar age range. I wonder if he listened to Oasis back in the day. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the hotline. We're joined by Andy Staples from On3. What's up, man? How you been?
Of course I listened to Oasis. It was funny. A few years ago, there was a little spat on Twitter where someone called Oasis a one-hit wonder, and I was like, which hit? What are we talking about here?
They had 2 glorious albums, maybe 3. I love them. That's my band right there.
Interesting choice of bumper music, though. I imagine many Aggies are looking back in anger at the Miami game.
Not only at the Miami game, but really the last couple years, man, because it felt like this ascension, right? Like you're going this direction. 2020 happens, and we still think we were probably robbed of the playoffs. And then it's just been a worse. And I don't think it's going to get worse because this has been the year that we've been pointing at. But here we are after a very disappointing defense, Andy.
Yeah, and that's the part that I think probably is the most frustrating, because last year it was offensive frustration, and when's that ever going to get fixed? And it looks like it's stuck in mud. The offense looked smooth. Connor Wigman is the guy at quarterback. And even in that game where he had a few moments where early in the second quarter where it looked like he might be a little shaky, he got it back together and they were moving the ball. I mean, he looked in command. The play calling was good. And then you can't generate a pass rush. You can't tackle on the back end. And I know they had trouble stopping the run last year, but it felt like the other issues were not as prominent. And so what happened? How did they backslide? Which, it doesn't feel like they lost that much from a talent standpoint. And they, allegedly had some really good young players waiting in the wings. That's the part that is the most mystifying. I will say, though, maybe reserve judgment. I know if you're a fan, you probably can't do that, especially after 2 years of frustration. But let's find out if Miami's really good, because it could just be that.
I think, though, and I agree with you, we're at a point, it doesn't matter if Miami's really good. This is year 6.
Right, you're supposed to be really good, too. Yeah, I got you.
It's so frustrating, too, because what you just said there, last year, I was of the opinion, you fix the offense, this team is really good. They fixed the offense. And then you stopped the run, by the way. You were terrible stopping the run last year. You're stopping the run this year. Now you can't stop the pass. It's like one new issue after another.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of like the old story about the kid sticking his finger in the dike and a new hole pops open every time he does, and all of a sudden you run out of fingers. And that's the issue. I don't know what you do at that point. The personnel feels like it's there to fix those defensive issues. So it's not like they don't have what they need on the roster to make it work. So it's really up to DJ Durkin and company to figure that out. Like, can you find a mix in the secondary that allows you to cover and tackle? Because what was going on against Miami wasn't working. I mean, they too many yak yards. It's, and the teams that, because there are a lot of offenses where you kind of have to let them catch the ball because otherwise they're going to burn you deep, but you have to be able to tackle. And if you can't do it, especially in the West, when you have Ole Miss runs the old Baylor offense, Tennessee runs the old Baylor offense, and Texas A&M's got to play them. Like, that's the kind of offense that will destroy you if you can't tackle.
Well, let's talk about the West in general, because my goodness, man, the 3 top teams that we expected, I think I expected A&M to be one of the 3 teams. Alabama and LSU have all had their issues. Do you think it's a changing of the guard, or it's just early say?
I don't know if it's a changing of the guard in the SEC. I just think that perhaps the talent's been spread out a little more evenly. It's not so easy to be dominant anymore. And I think Alabama is a prime example of that. Alabama signed what was supposed to be the best recruiting class on paper ever this year. And then obviously they've stacked up big recruiting classes, but they looked pretty normal against Texas, and Texas beat them on both lines of scrimmage. And, it's interesting. I had Tavondre Sweat from Texas on my show yesterday, and he's a great example of this. Like, he's not even a 5-star. He was a 3-star that they just developed. Like, Texas actually develops his players now. And shockingly, that works. That when you take good talent and develop it, it works. And so that's where your Alabamas and Georgia's, Ohio State's, maybe they don't have as prohibitive advantage as they used to. I still think Georgia probably does in terms of talent and development right now. But yeah, I mean, I was at Florida State LSU. I thought that LSU would be able to handle Florida State up front. Florida State whipped LSU up front, whipped them. And that was shocking to me. It was not as shocking with A&M and Miami that Miami's offensive line could block. Mario Cristobal, that is his specialty. The first thing he did when he got there is try to upgrade the offensive line. Their best recruits in this class were offensive linemen. Like it's not a mystery what they've done. He's got Alex Mirabal is a good offensive line coach. Like that made sense. But a lot of these other ones, like Florida State's just been building and occasionally getting the right guy for the right spot in the transfer portal. And you know, if you don't master all of that, the high school recruiting and the transfer portal, you get left behind pretty quick.
I know you should never make up your mind on a team after a week 2 loss or week 1 loss, but do you feel like you know this A&M team and the narrative, how it could play out?
Absolutely not. It's one game and it's a road game. And again, I don't know what Miami is yet. So I want to see Texas A&M play a few more times. I want to see them get into the SEC schedule and see what they can do. I don't think it's time to give up on them quite yet. I realize that, like you said, it's a level of frustration that has been building in the fan base. And so they're getting to the point where it's like, okay, I'm tired of seeing this. I can't watch this anymore. Stop coming up with new problems and just play a complete game. But the fact of the matter is, if they play well against Auburn and Arkansas, we're having a very different conversation 3 weeks from now.
Absolutely. Talking to Andy Staples here on TexAgs from On 3. Andy, let's talk about this Deion Jay Norvell situation. It's interesting because if somehow Jay Norvell and Colorado State can figure it out, it'd be kind of a different storyline afterwards. But I'm like, why pick this fight now? It just doesn't seem like the right timing.
Listen. As someone who talks into a microphone, you and I both do that. We should not be bagging on coaches for saying interesting things. Well, let us thank Jay Norvell for providing content for us, because boy, did he ever. First of all, he's just kidding. He's at his coach's show. He's joking around. I don't mind that at all. And then the Deion reaction was priceless. Absolutely. What he said did not change what Colorado is going to do to them tomorrow in any way, shape, or form. All it did was create a piece of content from Jay Norvell and an even funnier piece of content from Deion Sanders that entertained us on a slow Thursday. Thank you for that, because you're in the entertainment business and we appreciate it. And I loved the Deion video where he's like, they made it, and the whole team goes, personal. And like the first time, they're not really sure, because it's kind of like a church thing where we're like a call and response in church. And the first time they're like, does he want us to say this? So like 2/3 of the team says personal at once. And then everybody's like, yeah, personal. And then the second time, like 98% of the team gets it right. Like every team I was on, I would have been one of the 2 guys that at the end is like, yeah, personal, coach.
But the whole Deion thing, man, and I've been saying it, like I've kind of been on this roller coaster with him, because there's a lot of stuff that I like that he does. And there's some stuff I'm like, I don't know about all that. But at the end of the day, the young men are buying in, and that's what he needs to do, is get them to buy in.
Exactly. I mean, you don't have to do it the same way everybody else has done it. And I think he's proven that. Now, what's interesting is there are going to be people who think they can copy him. And you can't copy him, because the starting point to copying Deion is being the best player ever in the history of the sport at a certain position. So unless Tom Brady feels called to coach, like, you're not copying Deion. He is one of one. But the fact of the matter is, he happens to be someone who was the best player at his position in the history of the sport, who also has the mentality and the work ethic and the desire to be a really good college football coach. Like, what is Deion the best at? Talent acquisition and motivation. Who is that? Who does that sound like? It sounds like Urban Meyer. That sounds like Dabo Swinney. That's 5 national titles between those 2 guys. Say what you will about Dabo not adjusting the transfer portal. We know Deion likes the transfer portal. But you know, those are guys who were never primary play callers at any level, that just knew how to get players, motivate players, and organize an organization. That seems to be what Deion's pretty good at. I mean, so far.
If things keep going the direction that they seem to be going for him, how long can he stay at Colorado, in your opinion?
Well, he's there at least through next year, because remember the 2-time transfer thing. Like,
right.
Travis Hunter can't go somewhere else and play immediately. Shedeur can't go somewhere else and play immediately. So they're going to be together for another year at least, and then we'll see what happens. But I mean, it's 2 games. Let's see what he does against Oregon. Let's see what he does against USC. But even if they're just 6-6 this year, which would be far above what my expectations were going into the season, that's a great season. If they are 8-4, if they are 9-3, if they are competing for the Pac-12 title, which I can't believe we're even saying this after week 2, then everybody in the world is going to want him, especially if he comes back and does it again, because I think next year has the potential to be very good for them as they move into a new league. The new Big 12 probably won't be as deep at the top as this particular Pac-12. This particular Pac-12 is as deep as that league might have ever been. So it's a tough league to deal with. So if they're slightly competitive there, they're going into a situation where the top of the league won't be as deep, and they'll have another year to recruit. Because I don't think Deion wants to flip roster, transfer portal like crazy every season. I think he wants to get good players. I think he's a guy who got the #1 recruit in the country to go to an FCS school. So imagine if Deion decides in October that he's got a target board of class of 2024 guys that he wants to flip and say, do you see what Dylan Edwards is doing? The opportunity for you to play immediately is here. Everybody in the world is going to be here. Fox Big Noon is going to be here. College Game Day is going to be here. You have that opportunity. It is going to be like, if you're our coach who has a 2024 guy in your class that Deion wants, you're going to have to fight like hell to keep him.
You think we learned this weekend more about LSU or Mississippi State, considering the start Mississippi State's had and the questions we had after that Florida State game for LSU?
Oh, we'll definitely learn more about LSU, because if they play the way they did against Florida State, they're going to lose. Like, Mississippi State's not gonna lay down for them. The thing about LSU that they struggled with against Florida State is they really couldn't establish a run game at all. Now, they'll be able to cover Mississippi State's receivers a lot better than they covered Florida State's receivers. Florida State's receiver group is one of the best in the country, but LSU's secondary is not great. You know, the receivers are going to have a chance to do something for Mississippi State, which is interesting because, you know, that no Ra Thomas, because he transferred to Georgia. They got to find some playmakers from their young guys. Woody Marks, I believe, is their second leading receiver. He's their starting running back. So, you know, it may be that they've got to figure that out, and they don't have the personnel to take advantage of LSU's weakest point. But if they have somebody who's ready to step forward, if Will Rogers has a good game, it could get rough for LSU with those cowbells ringing. It's a 9.5 point spread. I took Mississippi State to cover. I don't know if they're going to win, but that's a big spread. The one thing I will say for LSU is against Florida State, their running game was primarily Jaden Daniels scrambles. I think with Logan Diggs playing now, the Notre Dame transfer, they should be able to get some running back based rushing yardage. And I think that'll open things up offensively. It'll make it a little easier on Jaden Daniels. It'll take a little heat out of the defense.
Let's talk a little Florida and Tennessee. I keep reading that you got to watch out for the Florida front, and Tennessee hasn't looked good, but offense is, regardless of who's at quarterback, they can put up some points. What do you think about this matchup?
I think Florida's got to figure out how to establish a run game as well, because you watch the Utah game, they essentially abandoned the run game and then inserted a screen game that was supposed to replace the run game, and it didn't do very well. They have got to be able to move people at the line of scrimmage. The backs are their best position group. They've got a trio that should be able to carry them in some games. And the thing is, especially against Tennessee, you do want to control the clock. You want to control the tempo. So ideally, you are running the ball well. You are controlling the tempo. And then that should open up things in terms of play action for Graham Mertz. Because if everybody in the world knows Graham Mertz is throwing and Tennessee is really fast off the edge, that's a problem. Like, that's going to be hard to deal with. And then on the other side of it, you know, Joe Milton has to be more accurate than he was against Austin Peay. If he's spraying it all around early in that game like he was against Austin Peay, Florida's going to either take advantage, control the tempo, or they might get some turnovers that allow them to have short fields and take advantage of that and jump on and get some easy scores. If Joe Milton is on target, I'm not sure Florida's defense can do anything to stop Tennessee. So that's really what it comes down to is how well does he play? Because this series is weird, especially in Gainesville. It's weird. And there's a reason Tennessee hasn't won in 20 years in Gainesville. For whatever reason, like they are cursed when they go to the Swamp. So they're going to have to play well to kind of break that curse. I actually don't know how much resistance Florida itself puts up because Tennessee should be better than them. Like Tennessee should be a touchdown better than Florida, even on the road. But weird things happen in this series.
Andy, I know you don't read too much into a week 2 loss, but how much are you reading into what happened in Tuscaloosa last week between Texas and Bama and what it means long-term for both of those programs this season?
Well,
long-term?
for Texas, I think it showed proof of concept that they have been developing their players, that was their biggest problem over the last 10 years is they were not turning 5-star recruits into NFL players. They are now. Like JT Sanders was the best offensive skill player on the field against Alabama. He was the best offensive skill player on either roster. And how many Alabama games have you seen where you could say that about somebody on the other team? You know, when 2019 LSU was playing against them, maybe, but not many. Doesn't happen that often. And the defensive front is fantastic. They're old. And again, they've been developed as opposed to before when it was like, oh, you guys were good recruits and, you know, you're going to play here for 4 years and then you're going to go undrafted. Like that's not who they are anymore. They've got guys at every level of the defense that are going to be drafted next year. They've got offensive linemen who are going to be drafted in the next 2 years. Like that is different. And Alabama, I think they got to figure some stuff out. You know, they have a true freshman playing left tackle. My guess is Caden Proctor looks very different in game 10 than he looked in game 2. The quarterback thing is the thing I think they got to figure out. If Jalen Milroe's your guy, how about some design quarterback runs? How about some more read option with Jalen Milroe in the backs? Because you're going to succeed against most teams doing that. If he's not your guy, then play somebody else. Because you're not running an offense that suits Jalen Milroe. You're running an offense that suits Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner. But decide and then go with it.
Last thing for Andy, who do you buy more as a potential college football playoff team, Notre Dame or Penn State?
Penn State. Penn State has elite talent on both lines of scrimmage. Now, Notre Dame does have some of that too. Like Joe Alt is going to be one of the first tackles taken in the draft. But the first tackle taken in the draft is going to be Olu Fashanu, who plays for Penn State. And then you got Abdul Carter and Chop Robinson on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And then Drew Aller is kind of the X factor there. He's, you know, we saw those games with Sean Clifford at quarterback where they were good, but they never seemed dominant. They never seemed like they could blow away an elite team. Now, it does look like they can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody when Drew Aller's hot. Now, again, we haven't seen much competition for him yet. West Virginia didn't really provide a lot of competition. Illinois' defense, they have a tandem of NFL D tackles. They will provide a little more resistance, I would think. But this is a game I think we can tell a lot about Penn State from, because I do feel like the Sean Clifford type teams would go into Champaign and mess around, and they probably, maybe they win by 3 or 6 or something like that. Now, the last time they played Illinois was in-state college. They lost in 9 overtimes. But with Aller, we'll find out, okay, how different are they with him? Because the way he's looked the first 2 weeks, they look like they're going to go in there and win handily. And if they do, that's a pretty impressive feat. And then they get Iowa next week, and you're going to really get to see how good that offense is against that defense. But so far, I am very impressed with Penn State as a potential Big Ten champ, potential college football playoff participant.
Randy, I appreciate it, man. Let's do it again.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Andy Staples here from On 3. Has a great podcast, great coverage all the time. Appreciate him coming on the show. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. Billy should be in studio by that point. Right now, we're talking about the HD13, the Hilliard discussion, the ultimate recovery modality for performance. The award-winning Hilliard discussions are back in person, offering a hybrid format out there. They have 5 speakers this year speaking on different approaches to recovery from training or the average person, the exercise, or long weekend of work, you name it. These will not be run-of-the-mill techniques out there. It's a really cool event there. Thursday, September 21st, 2023, from 5 to 8 o'clock in person at the Annenberg Presidential Conference at the George Bush Library Complex on Texas A&M's University. Come early and you can meet Miss Rev. Also offer a simulcast of the event that you can view on Zoom out there. If your institution would like to be a part of the event, you got to reach out to them. Starts at 5 o'clock. As I mentioned, you've got the discussion from 5:30 to 6:30, a Q&A from 6:30 to 7. And again, some of those speakers, you're going to love it. They're going to be talking about cupping, dry needling, cryotherapy, shockwave therapy, you name it. Dr. Heather Linden's going to be there. Mr. Saul Luna, athletic trainer at A&M for track and field. You got Dr. Joyce Terrell over there from Morehouse. Major Evan Carson, physical therapist with the U.S. Air Force out there. So make sure you go check it out. It's going to be a cool event out there. It is the HD13. Again, HD13. Go find out all about it. Check them out, and I think you'll have a great time there learning on different ways to recover. It is, again, the Hilliard Discussion 13. And we are back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Oh, looky here. Is that Billy Liucci? No, that is...
Oh, don't confuse me with Billy Liucci. That would be a horrible thing to do.
Hi, Daltonian.
I'm just killing time for you. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. What's going on in your world?
I'm ready to see some defense this weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe some offense and a win.
Were you able to check out any of our interview with Andy Staples?
I've not. How was Mr. Staples?
Very good. Very good.
Mr. Staples would like where I'm going to lunch today. I can tell you that.
Is it a Mexican place?
It's a barbecue place.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get a little barbecue.
Go enjoy it, buddy.
I'm going to. Well, I'll see you later. I'm going to get in trouble.
All right. Good day to you, sir. That is Dalton Hughes here. TexAgs Radio. Oh, my gosh. He almost fell. Broke everything in the background. Hello, Billy. How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
He was killing time, so
I'm going to use this hair today because I got it cut yesterday. And
Yeah,
I'm going to use it to troll Steve and Seth like I just did Brawny. But he actually had a good comment because with this flannel shirt, he said I look like a... And then I changed it up a little bit to 90s, like 90s Sugarland pothead.
Country.
Or
Yeah.
country,
Yeah.
somewhere in between.
You look like a broke
Like I'm
country
going to
kinda
go
guy.
smoke a couple of cigarettes out in the woods.
It looks like a reverse mullet. Like it's like party in the front, business in the back.
Party in the front, business in the back.
Mhm.
Wow. That means I need to grow it out longer in the back again.
People are coming after you this morning. Good morning, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm all right. All right. You?
It was good until I caught a little Ian Staples interview.
I co-signed that. That was a good interview.
Sleeveless Staples. Of course you liked it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being
You like-
sleeveless.
You like seeing men's fleshy arms.
No, I don't like seeing men's fleshy arms,
I
but I
mean-
have no problem with a guy, if he feels confident, do it.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah. If it works, it works. I think it's a little weird on that, like in a studio setting. But if you did the show from the beach, I'm all in.
I'm just saying, I've got to keep it even across board here. For the grief I give you and Brawny for sleevelessness, I can't. It would be it would not be nice of me to go after you guys consistently for the same thing and then just because I like Andy, just let it blow, or because he doesn't work here and we don't want
Right.
to give him a hard time.
But he's your buddy. You guys.
He's my buddy, so
I've been here 2 years.
maybe
and
if
some
you're
change.
the best at what you do, you can go sleeveless on air.
I think you've seen me sleeveless twice.
I don't
max.
love McAfee's stuff. I think it's already getting a little much, but he does good.
He does good work, but I've done sleeveless maybe twice in our lifetime at TexAgs.
You've done sleeveless here?
No, never on the show.
Oh, I
God,
was like,
no.
what in the world?
No, I don't want to raise the ratings that high. Anyway.
I'm just going to drink my coffee like I'm Kermit the Frog over here.
I wasn't able to watch your entire Ask Liucci, but I know a question came up that I was interested in, and if you addressed it, we can make it brief. What is the identity of this team?
I don't know what my answer was yesterday, but I'll answer it now. I think it's a bad question to ask 2 games in. Really, 1 game in. You saw 1 game that mattered, so it's not fair. I'm not saying the person asking the question said it bad. It's bad. It's a poorly timed question to ask. So the better question, and this might be what they meant, would be, what do you suspect this team's identity would be?
Yep.
And if you really wanted to go even deeper, it would be, what did you think this team's identity would be, and have you changed your opinion of that after watching the Miami game? My opinion that changed after because I sat here all offseason and said I'm worried about the secondary. I'm worried about cornerback in particular. I'm worried about depth at linebacker. I wasn't worried about a 4-man pass rush. I thought they would find that. Now, part of the reason I thought they would find that were guys like Eni White, Malik Silla, and probably Diggs. But we haven't seen very much of White and Silla, certainly not against Miami. I do believe we're about to start seeing that. You watch, mark my words, you'll start seeing more of that tomorrow. That was one of my things. And look, we didn't get it against Miami, and it was costly. Another one was O-line play. I believe they're going to be improved. How much? I don't know, and that's going to be the big question of how many games this team can win. And I think they are absolutely improved when you watch them. And I think a lot of when you go back and a lot of the pressures and stuff, I would disagree with Jimbo in the standpoint of I saw a lot of misses, I felt like, by the running backs. Didn't result in sacks because, Connor did such a good job of getting rid of the football or stepping out of it. But a lot of the blitzing pressure, I think they had more than the Aggies could block. Now, they also had I thought the Aggies were worse in the run game blocking because they got physically whipped at times up front in the trenches, and that's kind of unacceptable. But I think this O-line, I'm 2 games in, I'm convinced they're better. Jury's still out as to how much better. I mean, they're not there yet, but how much can this team improve this week at Auburn, heading into Arkansas? Like, where can it go up front? I'm interested to see if Adazio keeps the status quo or if he starts watching tape and they start going, this guy needs to sit and this guy needs to play. That's also room for improvement. But their identity, my biggest concern coming out was the defense. And it's a lot of that, and I think rightfully so, is on questioning DJ Durkin and what he can do with that defense. I do also believe, though, that people need to acknowledge, and then we can go down this whole other road of how is that the case. But they were athletically, I think they were athletically overmatched on the back end. And we saw that a lot last year even, and that was it was less when you'd have Jalen Jones and Antonio Johnson out there. But it would fall off after that. And both those guys missed time. Jalen Jones missed App State. And they had freshmen out there, and they lost. App State took some deep shots on them. Antonio Johnson was always kind of, battling injury. Mm-hmm. He'd play, he wouldn't. He'd play a half, you wouldn't see. So when those guys weren't out there, you noticed the difference. And now we're noticing the fall off, I think, in athletes. And so before you say, well, we're supposed to have all these 5 stars, you are. You don't have – I'm trying to think of who back there is. You've got some big-name recruits back there. Those are your youngest guys. Chappelle was not. Damani was. That was the one. Jordan Gilbert wasn't so much. The older corners were not. Now it's Tony Grimes is one that you go, well, he's been banged up. Let's see what he can do. There's an opportunity there. Man, at corner, I just think they've got to start looking at personnel changes to get more athletic, more I almost want to say football savvy, football aware out there.
So
just see ball, find ball. There's a lot. I mean, you got to let it, they're all different. Okay, so options, and I'm not saying who should be benched, who shouldn't, but just to look at your options and say, okay, what all do we have that's not playing a lot? Jacoby Matthews, who was that borderline 5-star kid, he played. We saw him more Saturday. Dalton Brooks, he's not 5-star, but based on everything everyone said, he's an elite athlete back there, like another level of what they'd been putting out on the field. You got, Javon Thomas, who I know was one of the guys that got torched on that double move for a touchdown, but he's a true freshman. But the more and more he plays, the more and more you should get out of him, and he is probably the most talented corner they've got. And then we mentioned Grimes, and maybe Jared Kerr, maybe some more Jared Kerr. He played some Saturday, but so there are several guys that I think I would give looks to see if they flash a little more, and if when the ball's in the air, they get to it a little more quickly. They cover more ground on that back end, whatever it may be. What do I think the identity is before we go to break? Because I went all the way over there. I skipped identity. I told you what I'm most concerned with.
Yeah.
I think the identity of this team ultimately is going to be, they're going to be a football team with a great quarterback and playmaking receivers that can outscore you. And that's going to be fun to watch and be in a lot of SEC shootouts. And for A&M fans, how fun that is to watch is going to depend on how many of those high-scoring games they lose versus win. But that's where I think it's going to go. And I think it's going to be a team on defense that is just I do think it's going to be up and down. I know people think it's just down. I do think it's going to be up and down. I think there's a lot of misleading stuff out there about Dirk, and it's easy to pile on him right now. He's struggling, and the product has not been even close to good enough. So people will hear that and they'll go, oh, defending. No, I'm just saying go look at his historically, his defenses haven't been as bad as they're being portrayed. When you go and parse through it and you look at year 2 at Ole Miss, you look at little things last year like scoring and pass defense. I mean, I can look at the Ole Miss game and go horrendous. I can look at even the Auburn game where the stats don't say it and go, I didn't like what they did defensively. You know, you can go up and down, but there were also some good games too, good stretches of games, good games where people are just kind of blowing past them. There were areas that defense wasn't that bad last year. Where they sucked was run defense.
Yeah.
This year it's interesting because I could see a world where what we've seen so far kind of continues, which is better at run defense. But man, don't let them get to that. Don't let them get to that secondary.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with some more here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, we're talking about the All-Aggie Hullabaloo. It's game week, and if you're headed to the game this Saturday, the Association of Former Students wants to invite you to the All-Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters every home game this fall, and enjoy free drinks, food trucks, a vendor marketplace, DJ Rob, and watching the game, and much, much more. Plus, if you have questions about your Aggie ring or you need to have it resized, the Aggie Ring office will be open throughout the entire event. The All-Aggie Hullabaloo starts 3 hours before kickoff. Admission is absolutely free. You'll need to claim a wristband for your drinks, and you can do that by registering at tx.ag/All-Aggie Hullabaloo. If you're a business and are interested in becoming a vendor at the event, email the association at sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Don't miss out on the great event, and don't forget to register your wristband, tx.ag/All-Aggie Hullabaloo. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We talked about personnel, Billy's with us, personnel changes on the back end. But what about for pressure on the QB? One of the three things I wanted to see was different ways to put pressure on a quarterback, not just a blitz from Damani, like different ways. Mm-hmm. Do you see any potential personnel changes there?
You're talking about outside of the DN,
well, outside of the back end, like, yeah, do we see more Malik Sealy?
Yeah, I think you have to. Listen, it's a year and 2 games, and they've had like, how many sacks do they have in New Mexico? 2?
Yes, and 2 against Miami.
So 22 sacks in 14 games. That's not enough. So at the end of the day, coaching is about X's and O's knowledge, and it's about putting your players in a position to succeed. It's about recruiting to your system. It's about making what you have on campus work. It's about after the season's over, but really now be looking ahead and say, what do we need to make this system work? What pieces are not good enough, and to fix it. But at the end of the day, too, it is adjusting to it's so much of it is adjusting to what you see on the field compared to what you have on your football team. So when they see on the field, and it proves itself out that, man, on third downs, we're not getting enough pressure. When that happens, we're not getting enough pressure on third down. Well, then you've got to get other guys out. Our 4-man rush is not getting enough pressure. Change it. And try other guys and go, okay, well, why isn't it? Well, maybe you have a lot of these guys are power-based rushers. There's no doubt. They bull rush. They might hit you with a spin move, but it's generally a lot of power, and that's fine. And I think a lot of those guys are going to be playing at the next level, and they're going to help A&M win a lot of games. But when it's third and a certain distance, I think you get your guys out there that, like a Malik Sealy, who can reach you from here and maybe even get creative into like a linebacker like Martrell Harris, maybe obviously an Eni White. That's why you went out and recruited those guys. They were borderline 5 stars themselves, top 50, 60 players in the entire country. And no one has said that they're busts. No one has said they haven't panned out. They just are more nuanced, situational guys at this point in their career. Particularly Silla needs to add more weight and strength. And then Eni is a smaller guy, but so is Tyree Johnson until later in his career. But early on, you could still see that pass rush. So I would say get more of them out there when you can. It's not just easy. And that's what I was saying about Durkin. Like, he's covering up some liabilities on the back end, and I think that has him fearful of giving up too much by blitzing. So in a perfect world, he could rush 4 and get some pressure, but it's starting to you have to start to realize that might not be happening. And it's only going to get harder in the SEC. So you have to adjust. But I understand the trepidation. Now, again, we could go down this whole road of why not in year 6. Because I look at transfers around the country that are playing. Like, why not in year 6? And there's a corner at Wake Forest that was first team All-ACC, and there's a safety at Arkansas that was an All-SEC player before he got hurt, and A&M recruited both of them, and they're both in Austin. I know you got Grimes and DeBerry, but could you have done even 2 more? Would those guys be playing and starting here? I don't know. But my point is there's a lot of reasons why in year 6 we're saying this. I think a lot of the real exceptional athletic talent is younger. You've got to find a way to merge those two. Because you don't give up on an experience like Damani Richardson. But some way you've got to merge the two, and you have to start doing it now. Same thing up front. You don't want to take either of the Shamars or Overton or Diggs off the field very much, but on 3rd and 8, maybe you do want to see Silla and White in there.
Yeah.
The concern, and this is where it's not quite as easy as people seem to act, like just put them in there. They'll sack the quarterback. Well, if they were terrors in practice, they would be playing more in that role. I do think they're better pass rushers than some of these other guys, just pure pass rush. But I don't think either one of them are just destroying practices like Gerard Johnson once famously said about Von Miller or Myles Garrett. They don't destroy practice. If they were, we'd see them out there. But I do think we need to see them more because you're getting not much of anything in the way of a rush. The scary part is you put them out there on 3rd and 5, and they run it for a first down because they see them out there, and then they go tempo, and you're stuck with them out there, and they run it again, and they run it again, and they run it again. I'm talking about Mississippi State. I'm talking about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. I'm talking about Arkansas and Rocket Sanders. That's the concern. So to me, if I'm Durkin, I'm just sitting there going, hey, 3rd and 7, 8 or more, I'm going to take my chances that this is our best way to get the hell off the field right here, right now. Which is crazy, Nuño. Would you be shocked if I said the 2 most shocking stats yesterday or Saturday? Connor Wigman sacked 0 times, Van Dyke sacked twice. But you watch that game and you know where the pressure was coming from.
Yeah.
You know how many incompletions Connor threw because of the pressure. 0 sacks to 2 sacks. That's incredible. The more I watch it, the more impressed I am at what Connor did on Saturday. And that was with a little lull. I thought he looked a little like they got to him in the second quarter.
Yep.
And he adjusted along with Petrino adjusting to what they were doing. But the other shocking stat was A&M was like Miami was like 3 of 9 or 3 of 10 on 3rd down. But gosh, it didn't feel like it. They converted a couple really meaningful ones, but the Aggies actually in 9 or 10 tries got off the field all but 3, it kind of blew my mind when I saw that number.
When we come back, I want to ask you, when it's all said and done this year, where you think Tyler Van Dyke ranks again amongst A&M opposing quarterbacks? Because he's had a great start to his season. We'll go through that. Right now, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I'm living the brand, guys. We're using it. Not only do we purchase a vehicle there, some of our service needs, we got to go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And we have some service stuff coming up, and they're going to come take care of us here. They're going to complimentary pickup for all their service customers out there, because that's their goal there, is to make you feel amazing when you purchase a vehicle and have service needs there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. The process is super simple. I called my guy Dylan over there, took care of me within minutes. Like, it was quick, it was easy, painless. Appreciate him out there. And then I also called Dylan a year ago. He's a sales guy, but he'll handle service because that's kind of what they do there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. There's no doubt about it. They're fantastic. If you're looking to trade in your car and look for a better vehicle, bam, they got you at Caldwell Country Chevrolet, because they got great trade-in value for your vehicles, the great customer service, and, of course, the vehicles that you'll love. It's about a 15-minute drive, Bron and Caldwell, short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with our good friends there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. And we're back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy's with us. So I asked the question earlier. When it's all said and done, where's Tyler Van Dyke going to rank amongst the quarterbacks A&M plays against? And let me set it up by saying this. 2 years ago, I thought he was good, and Olin kind of gave me hey, I don't know if he's all that good. Look who he's done well against, okay? And last year he had a down year, no doubt.
Yep.
He has started this year on fire. 822 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 90. They beat
370 and 5. That's all I care about.
Yep.
I throw out Miami of Ohio and I throw out
Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman. By the way, sometimes, and I'm going to tell you, some of these people on social media are just a beating. And even on our side on that thread, listen, if you guys think that we sit there and try to pump up the program for subscriptions or whatever it is, like, let me just be real honest with you right now. We picked last year, I was below. I said the team was overranked at number 6. They should be more in the 8 to 12 range entering the season. We were low. We were lower on expectations than the rest of the country, the unbiased rest of the country. Going into this season, no one had issue with the rankings. It's become a running joke with SEC Network of who was serving the maroon Kool-Aid with Doring and Alyssa Lang and all of us joking around because I've been saying it wasn't me this year. Y'all got me worked up more about the team. And, you know, we've mentioned the potential issues. We've talked about them. People think they live too much on what they think they're hearing and reading versus what's actually written.
Yep.
So maybe we need to do a better job of just throwing out all the negative stuff we say just so people can check their box and just everything. But people focus on what they want to hear when they've got an agenda and a narrative cooked up. No one picked A&M to win the West this year. I talked for probably 2 weeks or more about the dangers of this Miami game, and it wasn't because I said Miami was going to be some kind of title contender. It was because I didn't love the matchups. Do I think A&M should have won in year 6 under Jimbo and year 2 under Chris? Yes. And I wrote as much. I said as much. But those matchups, there were areas where it was very problematic for A&M going into the game. And some of those were exposed in the way the Aggies lost. It doesn't mean it's acceptable and we have to be okay with it. But we threw all of that out there before the game. So those people that think we do that, like, if you're on the site, my advice would be get off of it. Like, you're making crap up that's not true, and you're complaining about it to a lot of people that really enjoy either the site or me or this show and you guys. Don't ruin the experience for everybody. Go in y'all's damn little echo chamber, be little angry elves and talk about it. I don't care if you're pissed about a product. I don't care if you're pissed about you want to see more of this or that from the site, but don't make something up and make it your life's work to push it on my website, on our website, on the subscribers' website that want to enjoy it. So I will kick your ass off. I will never think twice about it again. I will not feel bad about it. So just cut the crap or go away. It's my advice.
All right, we got to hit a break here. The final countdown coming up next. TexAgs Radio. Reunited once again. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time for the final countdown. Steve and Seth McKinney are with us here in studio. First time this season. The chairs here.
Welcome back, Steve.
The chairs are all broken. Can you tell?
I can because you got like a phone book underneath you.
Because
like I'm
Ronnie's
at my
sitting in there.
grandmother's.
When you're sitting in the chair and you're passing gas for an hour every Wednesday, the damage to the chairs it gets rough.
How you been, bud?
I've been good, man. I miss you guys.
Yeah.
What are y'all been really screwing this up, apparently.
Dude. Yeah.
Last couple
Well,
we did last week on a Thursday.
We need you
thus
to
the
come in
loss.
and straighten things out.
Yeah, there's a lot needs to be straightened out around
Hair's
here.
looking good.
Hey, I just
What do
had
you
a
think of
haircut.
this?
Look at that situation.
I'm just glad that you got it inside your hat, man. It's been everywhere
What is
lately.
happening
so.
here? Dalton said I look like what's the guy's name? Doc Brown from
Back to the Future?
Back to the Future, yeah.
I like that.
Or no, not him. What's the guy from Independence Day? The scientist.
No,
you know.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So
I was gonna say Scott Stapp.
I'll take it
at the Dallas Cowboys.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Halftime.
slap a Romo jersey on me and let me fly.
Steve, it's been a minute, so give us your state of the program address.
Yes.
You know what I'm laughing at.
Well, first of all, I'll say this. The Miami game, obviously I was frustrated after the game, but I wasn't overly discouraged, to be honest. I think this is a team that's going to really improve throughout the season. Here's the things that I felt positive about. One, the interception. I don't count either of the interceptions as legit interceptions.
Yeah.
I think Connor
Least
Wigman is
amount of worries.
playing out of his mind. I think he's going to be a great quarterback the rest of the year. I think we have an explosive passing game, and we didn't maybe see as much of it against Miami as we did the week before. I think the offensive line will continue to get better. I don't think they played great on Saturday. I don't think they played that well at all, but I think they're very capable of playing better. So I wasn't just super discouraged by that. I think defensively, I think we came in with a bad scheme. We got out-schemed, and the DBs got exposed. I think the turf was a problem. I don't know if it was the cleats so much as maybe we just weren't as familiar with that type of turf as that Miami team was. And that can be a problem. I mean, Seth, you can attest to this. I mean, there's been plenty of times, I remember in the NFL, where we would come in after warm-ups, change spikes. We'd go from like a 3/4 to a 5/8 or vice versa.
What do you think happened there? That's been a topic, and people.
Well, I was looking at.
Some guy on Twitter today, an Aggie, like openly just writing like you dumbasses about at Aggie football, and it's like, why do we do this as we're all mad that you have to type that in.
That's
as
way
a grown
down
adult,
on my frustration
but as a
level.
grown adult to say, hey, I'm going to call an at Aggie football and write like dumbasses or something. Like, why do you do that? But it is a legit question of.
It's real.
They go with, you guys know this better than we do, and you know it, A&M included, on Saturday. They had other cleats in there.
And
is
other
that
spikes.
Just a play?
Yeah, so here's the deal. So if you play, my favorite shoe was the Shark, and it was just molded cleats. It didn't have the spikes. Yeah. And I would just go out there and play in that. And that was, and I played forever like that. And then the Texas game in '98, if you remember, we all roll out in those Sharks, and that they all had on spikes. You knew it. You saw it. And we were just commenting on it. We're like, we're just slipping everywhere. But that Miami game was a little bit different. I don't know if the DBs usually all have spikes because they're not wearing Sharks.
Because they're cutting too much.
Yeah. And so there are spikes. You could go out there and go, man, I'm slipping. And then you go in and go, I get them adjusted, whatever, just like Steve said.
But it's up to is it an individual player thing to say, hey, I don't like my
It's an individual player, but it's also the players got to figure out how to play and plant differently.
That's correct,
on different types
if
of
you're
turf.
slipping,
fix it. But that's the problem is that you can, if you're not thinking about it consciously and you go into a break kind of like what Anais did, and you plant like you would normally plant, and then your foot just comes right out from underneath you, that's not something you can just correct immediately as the play's happening.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking about it, you can slip on a situation like that. It's just bad luck.
Right.
Where Miami, they may be so used to that they're always thinking about it. They've adjusted the way they play, the way they cut to that type of turf.
Just because, and also it's so like what we saw that day. Rain, stop, rain, stop. You played there in Miami, you know how it is.
Yeah. So. But, I mean, like.
I think that's still very low. I was about to say,
to get
play
to it,
was
that's
massive.
At the bottom of
So y'all leave Matt Watson alone, okay? Just get off him. It's not his fault.
Him and poor Goose.
They're the best.
Seth, your state of the program.
No, I'm with Steve on that. I think that Connor is the least of my concerns. The offensive line did a fine job. They weren't perfect, but they did a fine enough job to be able to win that game. We got blitzed at every occasion. I mean, like, I think we were the most blitzed team of the week or something like, or of the year. I don't know. It was ridiculous. And that was their answer to whatever it is that coach saw that we were doing the week before, bringing edge pressure like I've never seen before.
It seemed like they were running a lot of cover two, like keeping their safeties deep most of the game, just kind of taking away those deep balls.
Right.
I don't know if that left a lot of underneath routes open, or if we just couldn't make hole shots, or just didn't have time to make them. But that was the thing. We couldn't run into it. We were running average. I mean, we were getting no like explosive 7-8 yard runs. It was all 3-4 yard runs.
Average, I think.
And that was kind of my.
They were okay.
They were okay.
That was kind of my comment going into the game. I was like, make them make you stop passing, and they did that. They succeeded.
But that's the only way you beat a cover two, if that is what they were running most of the game. I couldn't really tell on the tight copy of the TV, but the only way you beat cover two is you got to run into it. You got to either hit hole shots or you got to be able to run the football.
And I think that's exactly – it's so funny. It's the opposite of what New Mexico did, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico said, you're not running it on us because we know you can bully us if we're up front. So – we're going to ask you to complete lower percentage throws down the field, and that's exactly what they did. Miami watched that, and I think they were like, our front four and maybe even the front seven. Those I did see a couple plays where Miami linebackers out-physicaled A&M linemen, and that bothered me. I mean, they were running through them on a couple of instances. But for the most part, I think Miami said, our front four can hold up good enough that we don't think you guys can do what you did to LSU last year because there's no A-chain.
Right.
You might run for 100, you might run for 130 yards on us, but that for you, A&M right now, that's getting it the hard way, and we're going to make you get it the hard way. And their plan worked.
That is kind of what they did.
And then to finish up with the issue, the defense is a real issue. We have to fix that, and we have to get our talent on the field and take lesser talent off, or the lesser talent's got to step up or get different talent in there, one of the two. But something has to give over there because it was just not good, and that is going to be an issue if we don't fix it. I mean, I don't even know what you could see against ULM that would go,
let me tell you what I saw on our defensive line. Like, we have so much talent up front. I mean, everybody knows that. Why are we not turning them loose? It's like we have a freaking Ferrari and we've put mud tires on it, and we got them playing gap, two-gap read. Penetrate, man.
Yeah, they were playing to win. We were playing not to lose.
Let those guys get up the field and create havoc. Let your linebackers clean up what gets past them. I mean, that's my thing. Like, if you have those kind of players up front, you don't have them sitting there reading two gaps.
Yeah, who is like your favorite team to go up against?
Those type of teams.
Yeah, the last guy I wanted to face was a guy that was going to get on my edge as quick as he possibly could.
Yeah, those guys are a nightmare to block for 4 quarters, and they're going to get some lost yardage plays. To me, teams that play that type of front are playing a bend but don't break type defense.
And we don't have that.
And we were bending and breaking.
Yeah, that was the thing. You gave up 50, 48, 60. It's like, yeah, you're playing a certain the opposite of the style Miami was playing with all the and it wasn't wild aggression. I would call what they were doing calculated aggression. And we're watching A&M do the opposite and still give up more big plays than Miami did. How many big plays did A&M connect on? Was it just one? Evan Stewart, the 40-something. Yeah, I would call the Reuben Owens 25 yards.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a big play. Maybe let's call it 3. But that was against an aggressive attack that, in theory, you're like, hey, we're putting up at risk for big. Miami was getting them. And they were running screen passes that were going for 30 because of poor tackling. When you talk about state of the program, Nuño, or where it's at, I agree with Steve. and Seth, I think you echoed the sentiment, but I saw enough to say this team can win a lot of games this year. They can lose a lot of games too.
Very true.
If the ones they lose, we may see high-scoring games. And I say high-scoring, they are going to have to run the ball better to be able to score a bunch because teams are going to do what Miami did and say, we'll bend but don't break, you guys, because we think you'll break. You'll have a negative play on 2nd and 2 trying to run the football inside the red zone where we'll stuff you for a 3-yard loss. And that's what happened on that very first drive where A&M had to settle for the field. Everybody talks about the Evan play where he catches it and you think he can turn it up and get the first, which he has to have watched that and go, damn. But the play before, you had a 2nd and 2, which is an amazing down, and we run it, and it gets absolutely blown up for a 3-yard loss, so you're in 3rd and 5. That's where I thought A&M failed, Steve, was on a few key 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1s.
Yeah.
We talk about Trey Zune jumping on that 4th and 1. Raise your hand if you were so sure we were converting 4th and 1.
All right, I'm with you.
I wasn't.
I would point more back to, and this is again, you're talking about a guy that is the least of my concern. It's like the interception, like the Evan Stewart deal.
Yeah,
get the first down. That's what I would tell him. And like, get the first down. Don't ever think about trying to juke and whatever your way to get a touchdown. Just get the first down and then go from there.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, that's not the reason we lost. It
hurt
us.
I said about
he's
him
so
and Connor.
talented,
They're
man.
A&M's two best players.
Exactly.
Dude, you could point to there's 20 different things.
I know, but those were big. Those were big third downs.
The Anaya slip interception. I mean, that was a fluke. The kickoff return for a touchdown, where there was, to me, a very blatant holding call that was missed.
Did y'all see the play in the end zone and really study the touchdown before halftime?
Oh, yeah, I studied it.
That's awful.
The dude just threw him down.
He took Tyreek
Chappelle
Chappelle and slung him like if this is the middle of the end zone, this is the corner. He took him. Their momentum was going this way. He slung him this way, went this way.
No, yeah,
as blatant as they come, and I know. Look, the Miami fans are saying A&M's low linemen were holding a lot, and I did see a couple times where I'm like, damn, we're lucky they didn't call it.
I mean,
but that was a touchdown play. Yeah. In space, in the end zone, and it's the difference between Miami leading 21-17 versus a tie game at 17 because that's a 10-yard penalty that takes them back. You know, they basically maybe get one end zone shot from outside the 20 and then have to kick a field goal. It was a 4-point missed call.
Oh, it was huge. And you know what? That was the point. That drive that we went down.
I'm sorry to wrinkle your McDonald's shirt.
I've had this for about 12 years, actually. That was the point where I knew that we didn't have it that day.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have it. I texted Seth when we had the ball. I was like, all right, this is perfect. All we got to go down and run the clock out, get some points on the board going to halftime with the lead. We're good. And then the exact opposite happened. we missed the field goal. They go right down and score a touchdown. I'm like, no, we're done.
Yeah.
Like this.
They had the clock in their favor.
They don't have
it
today. You know, it's just it's not going to be there.
And I'll give them credit.
And it wasn't the rest.
They
of the
literally had the ball, a 3rd and was it 7 or 8, with. Going back, it's just hard because it was such a long feeling day that Miami A&M cut it to 8 with 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
You didn't even have. You know how sometimes you have to hold them to a 3 and out or the game's over. All you had to do is keep them from getting 2 first downs. It was 5 minutes.
Yep.
It was possible, but our defense just did not have it that
Yeah,
at all.
And they got them to a third. They had a big 3-yard loss, and they got them to a 3rd and 8. And then, and by the way, on that play, the guy goes right through DeBerry's face to push off to get open. But here's the one thing I'll say. The holding on the kickoff, the 2 touchdown plays, they were blatant penalties. Mm-hmm. Blatant. They should have been called. The SEC officials failed miserably.
Right.
That said,
that won't be the only game.
Yeah. With that said, that is not why A&M lost. So do not get me wrong. I'm stating factual plays that unless you're a complete buffoon or you just want you so badly to go, we suck, Durkin sucks, Jimbo sucks, TexAgs sucks because we thought we'd be good. It's Nuño's fault. But unless you're one of those losers that want to do that, or if you want to look at it rationally, you'll say this. Those 3 plays were very significant, they should have been called properly. That's not why Texas A&M lost. And all three of those plays are examples, especially those pass plays, of this. The problem Saturday, Seth, Steve, two guys that played on the O-line. In that football game, the Miami Hurricanes were noticeably more physical than Texas A&M. And that is, if I had to say, like, that's why A&M lost. I felt like there was a different sense of urgency outside of the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then one team was more physical than the other. And that includes, we think about these guys in the trenches, right? But I'm talking about in the secondary.
DBs, yep.
Don't get thrown around.
Yeah.
Get called for defensive pass interference because you're throwing their receivers around. When you come over to make a hit, wrap up. Jordan Gilbert in that play, A, should have been there sooner. B, the question should have been whether or not we got called for targeting there because you took the receiver's head off and almost took him out of the game. And don't let on the contact, if I'm bumping you, go from me to Steve. Don't get knocked all the way to Nuño off your track. So, to me, like, those calls were indicative of, hey, who was the more physical team?
Yeah, no, you're right. We were definitely not the more physical team. I mean, the first, two drives when we had the punt return or the block punt and the muff punt. I mean, we looked like we were the more physical aggressor, and then it just flipped on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And literally from that point forward, they were the aggressor.
Yeah,
we were on our heels the rest of the game. We were the ones making the mistakes. And that's.
If you would have told me entering this game that they were going to edge pressure us like they did, I'd been like, oh man, Evan Stewart's going to have 300 yards. You know what I mean?
And
I know that he almost got there.
He did pretty good.
But it was incredible to watch them do that, and we had answers, but not like the answers that I thought we would have. Getting that, but
credit Miami.
Yeah,
I mean, Miami's a good football team.
Well,
better than they were last year, and Van Dyke played a lot better.
He
than
did.
Last
But
year.
speaking specifically of our defense, who I'm very down on, not the players themselves, but we just mentioned his name. But I think that you can make changes, man. I mean, it happens all the time that you can make the change that you need to make and roll out a different defense.
Yeah. I mean, they just gave the whole SEC a freaking blueprint on how to dominate that defense. So they got to make some changes.
There are answers. Like, basically, as negative as I am about the defense, I'm not giving up hope that we can get it fixed.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back.
I got a comment after that on exactly what y'all said.
You want to do it now?
Well, I'll just say Miami's DC, I thought you were saying it was he took it to A&M. It was you were shocked by that they were bringing that edge pressure, but also being able to take away. I want to say that about DJ Durkin and the A&M defense after a game. So show me that against Auburn and or Arkansas or Bama. Like, I want us to sit here and be saying that about the Aggie DC, not the first-year Miami DC from Marshall, who did a great job.
He did,
I don't
man.
care that he's from Marshall. We talked about it.
He dialed it in, man.
He had
It
a
was
top
impressive.
5 defense at Marshall that kicked Notre Dame's butts last year in South Bend with Marshall players. We forgot about that because we were watching App State. But I want, when we come back, David, to talk about what Steve just said. Miami is here's what I know about them. They are a hell of a lot better than they were last year.
They got a great quarterback.
And they've got a really good quarterback. And I want us to talk about the question you asked earlier.
Where's TVD?
How good is Miami and how good is TVD compared to other quarterbacks A&M's going to see this year?
All right, we'll get into that when we come back. Right now, we're talking about Costa Vida. That's Holly's place. You can text me this morning. You know they're going to be all over the place on Saturday. Multiple locations out there. Sweet pork and chili lime chicken tacos and quesadillas will be available at their food trailer in the fan zone there at the corner of Joe Route and Houston Street. Sweet pork, chili lime chicken nachos will be available in the All-American Club at Kyle Field with chips and queso. Sweet pork and chili lime chicken burritos will be available at the Yard at Kyle Field. And, of course, they're inviting everyone to stop by their store in South College Station. Start your game day off right with breakfast, tacos, and coffee. Stop by for lunch or dinner this weekend as well. It's a great place to go. As I was going through the menu there, I'm getting hungry as we speak. When you go out there, make sure you get some of their signature dishes as well, the sweet pork quesadillas, raspberry chipotle chicken salad, you name it. As she mentioned, you have the breakfast options out there, the lunch options, and the dinner options. And they're going to be all over the place this weekend. So when you come to town, make sure you stop by Costa Vida in South College Station. You know where they're at. They're at 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. It is Costa Vida. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The final countdown. Steve and Seth McKinney in studio. Billy Liucci, David Nuño here. All right, so Billy, you teased it at the end of the last segment. You wanted to talk about where Miami is potentially better. How good is Miami, and how good is TVD, Tyler Van Dyke, considering who A&M is going to play? Where are they in kind of the pecking order based on what you've seen so far this early?
And I'd put that passing game and Tyler Van Dyke for sure in the top third of the SEC.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say top three because I haven't really watched enough of the whole SEC yet, but I'd say they're for sure in the top. He's in the top third.
Okay, and Miami as well as a top 3 SEC team.
Top three?
I don't know about that. No, top third.
Oh,
top third.
I don't know. Like, I was impressed with them, but we also know where A&M went wrong. Like, we talked the other day.
If they're not top third, then we're not top third, Billy.
Well, I don't think we're top third right now. Yeah. I think the ceiling for this team is to get in there, and I don't think they're like so far from it. I think
you talking about our offense or like
just as a team, just what they're capable of doing against the schedule.
Yeah.
Like I look. Like
against the schedule,
who's been really impressive from
That's
the
what
West?
I was about to say.
No way.
I've been impressed with like
Arnett,
open, how he's, but they went to overtime with Arizona at Mississippi State. You know, LSU will learn a lot about this weekend. They have to go to Starkville. I don't think that's the toughest test in the world, but if they struggle there after losing to Florida State, like Florida State, I think is better than Miami, but I don't think that gap's massive. I mean, those are two good quarterbacks.
What makes you? I was about to say, what makes you say that Florida State's?
I think I'll give them more credit because I saw them do it at a higher level last year, and I think Miami we've seen do it against an A&M team that we don't know how bad this defense is.
We don't know yet.
And we
they
know
were
how,
giving A&M too much.
We know how bad they were Saturday.
But I think Miami is a contender in the ACC.
Yeah, I think
they've looked better to me than Clemson.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they've looked as good. Florida State Florida State's quarterback is I don't know if he's not a better passer than Van Dyke, but he's a better quarterback right now. Like I wouldn't want to play him. I'd rather play Van Dyke before.
All these
Hunter.
fifth-year senior quarterbacks. I mean, guys, that's an
You're
advantage.
Right.
That's a huge advantage.
Well,
that
lineman,
kind of
it's an advantage everywhere if they're that kind of player.
But we're in year 6 of this deal, so A&M they have plenty of experience to go to Miami and win.
Oh, there's zero excuse.
Nobody's making excuses for that. But I can tell you that after the first 2 weeks of the season, the one thing that gives me hope is that the West is wide open. Completely open.
The Wild West.
If we watched the Alabama-Texas game, credit Texas. They went in there and whooped them.
Yeah, they did.
Alabama, who was that?
You know who that is?
Who that was.
I do, because I said it all off season, and Texas people won't believe this because I was talking trash to them on Twitter saying they were going to lose. I did think Bama would figure out a way to win it at home.
Right.
But I said, and we've said this. This was a Bama team that is so beatable, and when Texas goes in there with Sark as an OC versus Tommy Rees. And Sark versus Kevin Steele on his 19th tour of duty, and Quinn Ewers versus Jalen Milroe, that you go into that game with a big advantage if you're Texas. And more importantly, it's about Texas. They performed. But it's about Bama, and the Longhorn fans don't want to hear this. But I've been saying this for multiple years now.
Yeah.
Who's playing at Alabama at wide receiver?
Can't tell you.
Texas, way better receivers. A&M, way better receivers. At Bama, if you've been in the SEC, and their fans think this is the SEC, this is the worst Bama team that Nick Saban's had since year 1.
Yeah.
And it's 15 years or whatever it is. I don't know what their record will be. If they go out and finish whatever and won, Texas fans have bragging rights. Texas fans can say see. But the reality is, that will be an indictment more on this year's SEC because I watch college football. I watch Alabama every year taking off any maroon-colored glasses because the Aggies beat Alabama 2 years ago. So if anything,
they almost beat them last year.
If anything, I'm sitting here discrediting
the worst
that.
fourth down call ever away from beating them.
So this is not – if anything, it's discrediting A&M to say Bama's trending downwards, taken away – from their accomplishment. So this is not a maroon-colored glasses thing. This is a crimson-colored glasses. I'm looking at Alabama because I've watched them from the sideline every year since 2012. And the defense that they have that versus what they had when they had Kirby Smart, when they had Jeremy Pruitt, when they had first-rounders and top 5 and 10 picks at every level multiple players.
I don't understand.
Those days are gone.
Well, where did those guys go? I mean,
it's a legitimate question because they have
yeah, I was going to ask it, Seth.
300 points more on the recruiting.
How do you recruit top 1, 2, or 3 every year after year, and then this year they just don't have the dudes?
It's a great study.
Where did that happen?
They're.
Well,
Nick Saban.
about us?
I was about to say we're a part of that study.
Yeah, but Nick Saban and Alabama have always been above that.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens at Texas. It happens at USC. It's
Bama's
normal.
never done that.
Exactly. It's normal everywhere where you just hit it wrong, or guys now with them transferring. Now, somebody has said this. You had a smart, snarky, anti-A&M hating dude in the media, which I hate. Like if you're going to cover national college football. And I forget his name, Nuño. He used to work for Texas football. Now he's at Bama. I don't dignify his name. I don't even remember it. But making kind of a comment of how all these D linemen are wasted here at A&M. and it's taken down these other programs. No.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Georgia, it's low-hanging fruit. If you went to Baylor and you don't like A&M and go in the national media and try to pretend to be an unbiased.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but if you want to do an unbiased take, then really go out there and say, if you are biased against a particular, like, hey, I cover national college football, but ever since my college and maybe even high school days, I've always hated A&M. Put that in your damn bio. At least just be out there with it. You guys that want to call what we do here or at Orange Blood or Inside Texas or, any of those sites you want to call them, other fan sites, that's fine. But put in your bio.
Aren't they fan sites?
If you're the Athletic and you don't like that Jimbo doesn't give you the access that other programs do nationally, just say it. If you're Barrett Sallee and Jimbo hurt your feelings when he was at Florida State, just say it. Just say it and then say what you want. And even if it's accurate, just say, hey, I'm going to point out as much as I can to diminish and belittle this thing, whether they're winning, losing, whatever, because I don't like the coach or I don't like the program or I grew up not liking the school. Say it.
Those people are obvious, dude.
They are, but they're not.
Obvious.
They are to us. They're not.
They are to us, but
not to the national.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Audience.
But with that said, I think this team right now, they deserve the heat and the criticism, but it's not close to being a done deal because, like Steve said, it's one game. We don't know how great Miami will be. I do know they're better, and they could be pretty good. Could be.
Just think back to the 2020 season when we just got
barely beat Vandy.
Smoked by Bama. And I remember almost being on this show after that game and kind of thinking like, I don't know. Don't know where this team's going. Don't know how good we are. Not feeling real good about it. I'd probably already adjusted my expectations to like 6-7 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then look what they did. They just went out and just bam, 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 put teams away.
How about
in
Seth?
the third, fourth quarter, week after week.
I like to go back to y'all's experiences. That's why we have you on here.
Is that why?
Well,
that's the only reason.
And the comedy.
Okay.
And the beautiful hair.
How about Seth in '98?
I agree. And
you guys
I was thinking
lost
about
to Florida, a great Florida State team, but you lost that one. Remember you guys barely beat, and this is when Kansas was Kansas. We barely beat Kansas.
We barely beat everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean early, and that's how A&M would have to win this year.
Just grind it out.
But y'all barely beat Kansas. There was a QB change there, and you ended up winning the Big 12. I'm not saying this team is going to go on to championship, but you said that. The league was there for the taking, and you took it. You mentioned Bama. They went from 4 first-round draft picks at receiver. Think about what I'm saying. 4 first-round draft picks at one position to 3 to 2 to none. And they went from
and they have a quarterback
Pruitt
that can't
and
throw.
Kirby Smart to Golding and Kevin Steele. And they went from Kiffin and Sark to a guy that wasn't that impressive at Notre Dame and is a baby. So I think Nick Saban's coaching staff has gotten worse and worse. And I think the players on the field, the playmakers. And they went from Bryce Young to Jalen Milroe. We watched Jalen Milroe last year.
Yeah, he's terrible.
This is a real legitimate question. Is there a density level of 5 stars over the last few years that Alabama once had that's going elsewhere because of NIL?
And I think part of it is guys transferring out. I think part of it, because he had this great thing where guys were going to be patient and wait.
Yeah.
Part of it's transferring out. Part of it is like the snarky comment about A&M and the 5-star. Hey, Texas has a bunch of dudes that Alabama wanted. So it's Texas and A&M. And it's Georgia has the most.
Yeah.
Georgia has the most. I mean, Georgia has a ton of dudes, particularly on defense, that Kirby Smart went and got that he was normally getting to Bama. So what happens is they were this far ahead of the pack. Then Georgia joined them. And then Alabama came a little. Look, they still might run the table in the SEC. But over the last 2 years, they have played more close
I'd agree
games.
on how they
Unless
look.
they're going to change quarterbacks.
Agreed.
They're not going to go anywhere.
Over the last, and I said that too, Bama will play a different quarterback against A&M than they did against Texas.
100%.
Said that before the year. Second part of that is Bama has played more close games in the last 2 years than they have in
Yeah.
every year
It's the whole
prior
time
under
there.
Saban.
Yep.
No
It's
question.
obvious.
But
So
no
therein
question.
lies the opportunity.
We want to
for
end on
A&M
one
or
little
anybody.
positive note about A&M. We do have a great quarterback, and we have a great 2 receivers at least, if not more. And I have a lot of confidence that we're going to put up the points needed to win if we can get a defense to at least show a semblance of stopping somebody.
I'll take bend but don't break at this point. I hate saying that, but I think if they can do that with this offense,
We got a chance.
you could be a team like Ole Miss 2 years ago.
Yep.
Or LSU last year.
Let's hit a break here. Milliken Reserve Time, Farm to Table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature, and they've done so by treading lightly on that land. They created a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. 2,600 acres of open space, farms, 30 miles of trails, and they've got homes out there, and a beautiful, extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks, ponds, and gathering areas out there. It's a place that my wife and I go to get our veggies each week. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat, and you can find all the animals you want out there: white-tailed deer, songbirds, rabbits, and turtles. And homeowners at Milliken Reserve share a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you'll come back to that pristine countryside place. You can go hiking there, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails, evening yoga, summer camps, music festivals, climb trees, farmer markets, and farm tours. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. And we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Going to read this from Bigelow on the YouTube page, who's a high school coach. He says their DC did a good job when they ran cover 2, the short side that was set where they had the cat blitz, corner blitz. On defense, they were fast because when a coach makes assignments and rules simply and easy to process, you can play fast. And that's part of the reason why we look slow and passive on defense.
So he thinks they're thinking more than playing. I remember years ago, Seth, when you played. I remember when you played, it was, and that's why we thought we'd see the jump under Durkin, and that was my hope, guys. And that's what I talked about was year 1 to year 2. You would think that they would be thinking less, reacting, and just see ball, attack ball more. Because they're in year 2 and they're thinking.
I don't want any of my defensive players thinking.
Not when you have that kind of talent. Those kind of schemes work good when you have like smart players that aren't like 4- and 5-star kids, and they get the scheme down. What about having a
smart 4- or 5-star kid?
If you have that plus, that's even better. But this reminds me a lot of like Vic Fangio's defenses. I remember because I had him with the Colts and with the Texans. Yeah. And early on, it was I'd hear those same comments from the defensive players. That it's very confusing. There's just a lot to know on the defense,
and they were never good, probably ever.
No, not those first couple of years were always bad. But then once you had guys that had been in the system for a few years, then it became really good. And
college football, though,
effective.
You just don't have time for that.
You can't have it.
You got to turn the Stallions loose, man. Let them run.
I'm with you.
College
Get your talent on the field.
Wild how fast it can swing. Like the dynamic between Texas and A&M right now on the recruiting front, it's a huge swing that happened on Saturday. And the pressure on like Jimbo and the Aggies versus the satisfaction in Austin and the pressure on even Saban in Alabama, it shifts in the span of, hey, why don't they call a fumble on Jatavian Sanders on that sideline? What just happened? It shifts in the span of Alabama goes up in the second half there and looks like they might be making a move in that game, and Texas recovers. Credit them. They recover and win. A&M gets off to a nice early start. You think they're going to look good on Saturday? I had a tweet making the rounds, or the Longhorns trying to make me look bad, because I said in my article, losers, read my stuff, go take one line out of it, put it around. You guys are little you-know-whats. But you go out there and you take that clip, and I'm saying go to Miami, beat the U, get to 2-0, have everyone excited, watch Texas go to Bama and get bullied around. What happens? What are we doing today?
The opposite happened.
And both of those things could have happened.
Good job, Billy.
Yeah, I
so
put
you're the jinx.
Yeah,
it's the guy that hates jinx. Just put it out there.
I do that, but then I also am on the other side of it where I raise optimism. So I'm like the wizard here.
You've been like the Aggie therapist all week, I'm sure.
It's been we've all needed it, but how close was it? David, you finished that half right, and Alabama doesn't lose momentum at home. The whole thing. So my point is, there's not time to get into year 3 or 4 of a defensive coordinator with a bunch of old guys that finally have figured it out. It needs to happen right away.
And as much as I hate to even admit, because I hate Texas, they have flipped the script.
Let me throw this in here.
Talent level, it's crazy.
You may have seen it, but apparently Jalen Milroe has been benched. Is going to be Tyler Buckner starting for Bama this weekend. Oh, that just came out.
Oh, that's shocking.
You hate to see that.
Color me shocked.
Yeah.
Because Milrose looked like such a stud quarterback on Saturday. I can't imagine
why
they take him out.
You knew that when they went to get Buckner.
They should have put him on the bench at halftime.
By the way, if I'm not mistaken, the Marshall, they might have picked Buckner 3 times. He definitely was the quarterback that lost to Marshall and the DC we saw this week.
We got to get to Freak of the Week.
Yeah.
Do I get the song?
They got more troubles than just quarterback.
Steve's got to finish his thought.
Yeah, they do.
Freak of the Week?
It's the Freak of the Week.
All right. I feel like we're not into it as much
as
we usually
are. It's Steve's first visit. Come on.
So you want to go first?
Why not?
Let's do it.
David, why not? Just put me on the spot, bud.
I'm sorry.
Let's see. My Freak of the Week. Let's go.
Week of the Freak.
Dude, how about a little Reuben Owens?
Oh, interesting.
I got
a good one.
I really he's shown some flashes that have gotten me a little excited. As a true freshman, I'm like, dude, this guy's going to be a beast out in the backfield, catching the ball. Once and you know when he's running too, like he's getting hit, he's falling for 2 or 3 yards. He may look tall, may look long legs, but dude, there's some power in those legs. He's not getting knocked back at the line of scrimmage. He's falling forward. Once he figures things out, gets a pass pro and everything worked out, I think he's going to be our workhorse.
So
I'm going to go with Walter Nolan and getting him active and changing up some of the things that they did, hopefully on defense, and letting him tee off versus ULM, because the only thing that I can leave the ULM game with and feel confident of going into Arkansas is that our defense changed something and they're doing something different versus the same stuff and winning. Because the same stuff and winning doesn't help us against Arkansas, in my opinion.
Or
so
Auburn.
That's what whoever we're playing next. So
okay.
I like that D-line one because ULM hasn't thrown for I think they've thrown for I don't know if they've topped 100 yards passing in either of their first 2 games. So they're going to try to do, I would have to think, this line up, don't get your quarterback killed. If you can run 3-4 yards, get first downs, and take this crowd and frustrate everybody early because of what happened to A&M last week, then do that. That's your chance. It's actually what ULM did here a few years ago when they almost beat Kyle Allen. The Aggies had the ball. If they didn't, they were about to give it back to ULM to win it.
What was that, dude? That was horrible.
And then went the next week, and beat number 3 Auburn. Beat the brakes off. So early. My freak of the week, I think I'm going to go actually, Nuño, with someone we haven't said. And I'm torn between 2 guys, and you'll know who the other one is when I say it. But I'm going to go Moose Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he or Anais has a big game this week because they've got to get both of those guys more involved if we're going to see this offense really fire on all cylinders.
Why don't they just put Anais in the backfield and let him run the ball and block?
I said that this week.
Something.
I mean,
I'd like to see.
They got to get him involved more.
And I think he's as good as any. I mean, I think
he's still the same guy. Your ACL is ACL. Like, you're 100% from that. So he's still the same guy.
ACL.
Yeah, he did an ankle or something.
Yeah,
oh,
but he blocks.
I thought it was.
He blocks. He blocks in pass pro. And I think they need that.
I know. There you go.
He's still the best. I think he's got to be the best receiver coming out of the backfield. That Ruben Owens is pretty special in that regard too. I just think, and it's a way to get more of Moose out there too.
Yep.
So I think it's a double win in that regard. We need to see more though. My biggest thing I want to see this week is I want to see those running backs show me something. Like Owens, I like you said, like there's a lot to love there. Le'Veon Moss, will he be back this week? If it's not this week, it'll be Auburn. I'd like to see him get some rust shaken off this week. They're going to need those guys to be good in SEC play, not just okay. They need to be good. So that's what I need to see on Saturday more than anything on offense is the running backs have some success.
Let's try to get the sleeper of the week here in the next 2 minutes, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jared McLeod and ask him about the Tempur-Pedic and the Purple mattress in the Specs parking lot of the Texas and Harvey in front of the Lowe's and William D. Fitch and Highway 6. The website, thesleepstation.com. Seth, you go first with the sleeper.
I'm going to go with Damani Richardson because we need him and that position to wake up a little bit from what they did last week and hopefully show us something different to have a winning occasion out there.
So you want your sleeper to wake up. I agree. That's right. He does need to wake up. I'm going to go with a defensive lineman, Seth, if you don't mind. Shamar Stewart. I think he is one of those guys that it's time to really cut loose. He had a good pass rush against Miami where he really dipped and ripped and leaned and got to the quarterback. But we need to see more of that. You know, there's too much. He disappeared for way too much of that game, from my take. He needs to be one of those guys. He's first-round talent, right? He's probably top 10 physical talent. But we're not seeing top 10 NFL play right now consistently. And I think if he can figure out how to do that play in and play out and change the game, force them to account for him on the defense, I think the defensive line, the defense in general would be way better. So I'm expecting to see him really kind of step up a little more than he has.
Billy?
Sleeper of the week. I'm gonna go on the defensive side and I'm gonna take a flyer here, and I'm gonna go with one of the guys that, you know, maybe this is just wishful thinking, but one of the guys I want to see more, and I'm gonna go with I'll go with Eni White making a couple plays.
Wishful thinking.
Has he even been playing?
Not as much.
What number is he?
He was 6. And,
6.
Right? Yeah, 6.
I don't remember seeing him.
I haven't seen enough.
We do need some quick twitch guys out there.
Yeah, and so, but the problem with this is I don't think ULM is going to just sit there and drop back.
Yeah,
you know.
I imagine they'll have a similar game plan in New Mexico: run the clock, shorten the game. You know, try to get in and out of there as quick as they can.
We'll come back with Pick 6 here on TexAgs Radio.
Van Dyke.
We're still not hot. And we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. By the way, we are up against it. Louis' show's about to start. Make sure you do listen to him. But if you want the Pick 6, keep it on the YouTube page. We'll have it going because we're going to go a little bit long. You were saying?
I might have like a brisket or brewery guy on today or something. Those commercials, Fargo's,
they're the best.
They might be because they're so creepy and cringy.
Are these TV commercials?
That it almost wants me to like
OB&I.
Just sickens me to the point that I'm like, they're on to something here. It's that bad.
Give me a little taste.
You gotta have Olin here because he like makes love to the meat on the air. It's just
what?
Okay, keep going.
All right. Hey, week 2 results: 4-2 Billy Liucci, who's now in first place.
I'm not celebrating anything. This is like beating ULM right now.
So you're in first place.
We're
total
all
standings.
so very average. I love it.
I'm like 7-5.
I made a hard comeback.
No. We're all like, we're 6-6.
And everyone else is 6-6. He's 7-5. Yeah.
Pitiful. We should all feel bad.
What did I go this week?
This past week, you
7-5 against the sport.
I know. Like I'm 3-3, 3-3 both weeks.
I went 2-4 that first week. I was getting a little worried.
Well, let's get into these games. The first game to discuss today, and remember, we'll keep it on the YouTube page. Number 15, Kansas State 2-0 at Missouri 2-0. By the way, guys, do you know that the last A&M true road win was in Missouri in 2021?
Oh my God, we didn't even talk
that.
about it.
I
want to talk. Can we talk about the freaking how terrible we are on the road? I've been saying since the first year. I can't stand that they go down there Thursday.
I'm with you 100. As a player,
players
that has done that before
for hours on end in their bed.
Misery.
That is Jimbo. Stop.
Yeah,
get down there Friday afternoon. You don't need to get down there that early. I'm telling you, it's not good for your players.
It just doesn't work.
In the 1 year they won at Tennessee, they won at Auburn, they won at Mississippi State. It was Friday because of COVID. Now, 25% capacity also. The crowds aren't as intimidating. It's not as tough to win, but still.
Dude, I hate
act like it's not a big deal. I'm telling you, it's a
huge deal.
It's a big deal.
I hated night games for the same reason.
Really?
You're just like, oh my goodness, let's go. You're sitting in a hotel. I mean, it's the worst.
You can't do that for 2 days, man. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not good for the team.
Probably pretty expensive too.
Well, change something. If you're not winning on the road, you got to change.
Well,
something.
that's what I think is you got to look at that road record and go, what are we doing? What can we do to implement some change here? And that would have to you'd have to take a legitimate look at that on the list and have whether it's Jimbo or somebody just go, hey, we are doing this. Very few teams do this. If we had won our last 7, or if we were 500 on the road in the SEC, which isn't easy, then maybe it's different. But yeah, they have really struggled, and you got to look at kind of every reason behind it, and that one certainly is up there on the list.
All right, so we covered that, Dave. Let's go.
Kansas State at Missouri 2-0, 11 o'clock there. SEC Network broadcast. Kansas State favored by 5.5.
I'm picking Kansas State on this one.
Yeah, me too. I'm going with the Wildcats. That's what my
I
DO
thought Missouri would be good this year. Better. Better.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How are they going to be good?
I've been saying this.
Good. I said good and I corrected.
Okay.
I thought they'd be better. I didn't like what I saw from them last week in terms of following that game. I'm gonna go K-State to cover. It is a rivalry. It's a pretty heated rivalry though, but
they are 2-0. That looks pretty good on the screen. 2-0.
Yeah, I like Kansas State as well. On the road though, K-State lost to Tulane about this time last year.
Change it if you want.
No, I'm going K-State.
Number 14 LSU 1-1 at Mississippi State 2-0. 11 a.m. Davis Wade Stadium, Scott Field, ESPN broadcast. LSU favored by 8.5.
I'm going with old Will Rogers on this one, man.
Dude, I think I am too. I mean, Mississippi State's – and they always give LSU hell. I mean, it's not like LSU just dominates them.
They beat them a couple years ago.
Remember, yeah, Mississippi State went to LSU and beat them.
COVID.
Was that COVID?
Yep. But, I mean,
you and COVID.
It was Leach's first game. Seth's mad because the morning show talks too much COVID. It's like
the first episode, they said the word COVID like 20 times.
By the way, I didn't watch it because you soured me on the
it's
political
good. Episode 2 is really good.
I've been watching Hijack, and I really like
Hijack
it.
Is good.
Oh, tell me more.
Hijack is great.
Which one's
you
that
need to
one?
watch it. Y'all get on that.
Is that on
Idris Elba?
It's Apple TV.
Apple TV.
Oh, Apple.
But what I'm trying to tell you is morning show episode 2 was good. They made up for all that COVID talk.
Okay, good.
All right, so
I don't know about Jennifer Aniston. They say she's like a reptile or something. It's one of these Hollywood reptiles, they say.
I don't even know.
People who think that. People who think, you've never heard people think like all the ruling class.
Lizard people.
Holiday.
I've heard.
I have friends that think that, and it really makes me think you're crazy. But people think I'm crazy too. So
put me down for Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Will Rogers might be a reptile, so I'm going to go LSU.
Oh.
I'm going against y'all here.
That's fine.
I'm
Go
not.
ahead. You got
I'm
a game.
not.
You got a game to spare.
I'm going Mississippi State too. At home, LSU coming in, tough crowd. I don't think LSU's playing good enough ball right now.
That's a pretty big spread.
And I question their secondary still. So go Mississippi State to cover, LSU to win.
South Carolina at Georgia, number 1, 2-0, 2:30, Sanford Stadium, CBS broadcast. Georgia favored by a lot.
I'm sure I'll live to regret this. I know I'm going to regret this, but I got to go with South Carolina to at least cover that.
On the road.
I know. That's a lot. 27 and a half.
What he just did, by the way. I wish you would have seen that.
What did he do?
He said 27, and he goes, I know, 27. Check the replay.
Karate
That's
chop.
exactly what he did.
Replay.
What was that? Weird hand spasm. All right, let me go. Dude, I'm kind of with Seth on this. This is
like where y'all are going.
Is Georgia really that good this year? I mean, do we know?
Their offense has.
I mean, they almost got beat by. Who was that team that almost beat them?
I don't think anybody almost beat them, but they've off to.
That's an exaggeration.
They haven't been a fast starting.
Exactly. I look in the second quarter and it's like close game, and
Yeah.
they're playing, Sisters of the Poor, and I'm going, what's going on with Georgia this year?
How much did they score against North Carolina, though?
South Carolina.
South Carolina against North
Not
Carolina.
enough.
Yeah, not very enough.
I'm gonna go South Carolina with Rattler.
Can we all pick the same again?
Yeah, let me go South Carolina.
I'm going them to cover.
Okay.
Cover. Georgia's going to beat the brakes off of them, but it might be
26.
It might be 24.
Yeah.
We move on to number 11, Tennessee at 2-0 versus Florida 1-1. 6 o'clock, Florida Field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. ESPN broadcast. Tennessee favored by 7.5.
Is this the world's biggest cocktail party?
No, it's not.
Dude.
This is just a normal game.
What is the world's biggest cocktail
That's
party?
Georgia,
Georgia. Welcome to the
Georgia,
SEC.
Florida line.
Come on, Seth.
They play in Jacksonville.
You're such a big
Anyways.
12er.
I don't care.
12 truth.
I'm picking Tennessee to cover this.
Okay. Milton.
Joe Milton.
Man, I'm going to go Florida at home. Did you know Tennessee has not beat Florida since like 2003 at Florida?
Man, did you just
Really?
Google that?
No, I listened to talk radio.
Okay.
And Tennessee has only beaten Florida twice in the last 19 years.
Wow.
So I'm going to go Florida
Interesting.
to cover.
Looks like I'll be one up on you guys.
Tennessee has not really impressed me so far. They were in a 1-score game with Austin Peay, maybe at halftime, was it? Or Florida's defense, I think, is okay. At home in the swamp. That little .5 there is sticking out to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the week Josh Heupel and the Vols get it going a little bit, and then people overreact to it because they don't know how bad Florida is. I go Tennessee to cover.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
BYU 2-0 at Arkansas, 6:30, Razorback Stadium, ESPN2 broadcast.
The Storm and Mormons.
Arkansas favored by 7.5.
Coming to Fayetteville,
I'll tell you what,
baby.
BYU, I don't care. They're always going to be tough because they do have that experience level over there. But
yeah,
I'm gonna pick them to cover that. I'm not gonna say to beat them, but I think they're gonna cover that.
I mean, I remember playing against BYU and Sarkeesian. Billy just wants to roll his eyes. Sarkeesian
just
beat us
ruined it
in Provo.
Let's not act like we weren't sitting here as a top 10 team preseason, rolled in there and went 6-6.
I was so mad after that game.
I'm sorry.
I committed.
And
he's
like, I'm going to change the narrative.
Seth pulled a Micah Hudson. He commits to Tech after they lose 2 games. That's
he did commit right
I
after
did.
that.
I was mad. I was like, I'm going to A&M, and that's where
I'm going to fix this.
Well, I commend you for your service and loyalty. But
That's classic.
that day, it wasn't y'all. It wasn't the offense. And you know what? The A&M secondary, that secondary actually looked worse.
Yeah.
The secondary this weekend just missed. A lot of it was more missed tackles. That day, there was so much confusion, and people just didn't even know what was happening back there. You had so many young new
we were
guys.
getting so smoked on
And it was
DBs.
They had like a 260-pound tight end running past my man Toya Jones, who's like an Olympic
sprinter.
Like nobody knew what they were doing that day.
Yeah, it was bad.
And a lot of those guys went on to win the Big 12 in that secondary. But yeah, offensively, I was so excited. Brandon Stewart threw for like 300 plus. Sir Parker and Eric Bernard both topped 100 rushing in that game if you go back and look.
Oh, yeah.
And A&M, Albert Connell.
And then the next week, we followed that up.
Aaron Oliver had a long touchdown.
Our offense looked so good against BYU, and then the next week we go to Lafayette.
Yeah.
And,
6 or 7 turnovers.
Just tossed little interceptions to defensive people to run.
You're telling me that was the next
week?
Oh no!
And then RC was like, you know what? We're going back to 2-a-days. This was like
I do remember
mid-season.
That. I do remember that.
Mid-season, we go back into 2-a-days, dude.
I remember y'all talking about that.
That did not work.
RC's made some good adjustments though during his time. I remember that season of talking about thinking too much on defense. It was 2001, shaky, maybe up there at Wyoming, real shaky. Almost lost to a bad Wyoming team, and just look bad on defense. And then they really simplified. You can ask Waddell about that. He would be a good one to ask right now, like a mid-season stream change while keeping the same coordinator. I remember Christian talking about it because Christian was such a thinker versus just going out and doing it, and they simplified, and the defense was dominant starting at that 9-11 game against Oak State. Maybe they won that 21-6. Y'all won something like that. And from then on, it was a really good defense. But RC also, making the change from Babers to Sumlin midseason was really good. So you can fix things midseason and keep the same
when you have the talent.
But you have to. And they have it, right?
They do.
Yes,
if you're trying to fix problems that are physical, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem. We have physical talent. We need to fix the scheme to work better for our talent. But where I was going with the whole BYU thing, Liucci, one of the things I wanted to comment on is the thing about BYU that Seth kind of alluded to is that they're always good because they're so freaking old. Yeah. I remember the guy I was playing against was like 3 years older than me. I'm pretty sure he had a kid in the game. And they play dirty. They're old and they're dirty and they just like gut punch you. Like they don't pass rush you, they'll bull rush you and then just try to gut punch you and knock your wind out. That happened to me like 3 times during the game with the guy I was going against. And I'm going, I mean, are these freaking Mormons? I thought they were supposed to be like Christians. These guys are so dirty. I'm like, I left BYU having a whole different opinion of Mormons. Let me tell you that.
I'll tell the story, and this was a mindset, and I want to see. I remember now today in 2021,
2023.
I'm 2 years off. In 2023, people will say, "Oh my God, what? How could you do that? That player, they should retroactively punish A&M and RC." So I won't even say the player's name, but y'all might remember the story. After the game, BYU, you guys are going to the bus, and there was a BYU fan and his kids, and they were over aggressively trash talking A&M, and the dad and the kid were like, Aggies suck, or whatever they were saying. It was just too much and right in y'all's face going to the bus. And one of the A&M defenders, I shall not say their name, but just turned, looked at the dad, looked at the kid, spit right on the kid and just stared at the dad. The dad did nothing. So hopefully that kid remembers his dad getting spit on for running his mouth, and maybe that's one less BYU.
Wait, did he spit on the dad or the kid? He just spit on the kid? Yeah. That's great. Oh my God, dude.
And I think
I love it.
But I don't know if you really should do that after giving up 40 plus.
No.
Maybe before the game you have
But you
that
also
energy.
shouldn't be trash talking guys after a game that you already won. It's like, dude, stop.
Well, here's my
enough.
thing. The game's not in Provo.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Arkansas won in Provo last year.
They did, and they beat them down.
Pretty sure BYU is not what they were.
Okay, but they're missing Rocket Sanders is not playing.
True, but
I don't know how big of impact
it's a big impact, but I think BYU also barely beat Sam Houston a couple weeks ago.
No,
I don't know what the score was, but they were up 13-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Arkansas.
You went Arkansas?
No. I went BYU.
I'm going to go Arkansas. But I don't trust Arkansas now.
I don't either.
These are the games that they
Oh,
stinkers.
look at them backtracking.
But I'm going to go with Arkansas at home. And this will be another SEC overreaction this week. Arkansas will look good. I'm more looking forward to seeing Arkansas play against LSU next week. That'll be a pretty telling one to me.
I really need to win. I really need to win this one here. This is a big one for me personally. I'm going to go Arkansas.
Arkansas. BYU.
Trust Arkansas.
All right, ULM at Texas A&M, 3 o'clock Kyle Field, SEC Network, big number, A&M favored by 36.5.
36.5. I'm going to guess. When I look at big numbers like this, I think more of like how many points can we hold ULM to? If we give up 14, which I think could happen, I think we could give up 14, right? Trash touchdown in the fourth quarter or something.
Can we score 51?
Can we score 51 against them? Can we? Yeah, I think we can. Will we? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say we don't cover 36.5.
This is so aggressive, man. 36. What makes ULM worse than
New Mexico?
Well, New Mexico,
I don't know the answer to that.
The spread of that one was 37.5, I think. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Here's my problem with that spread. It's not. I don't feel like ULM will or should score 14. But I do think. I think it'll be harder for A&M to get up to 50.
I know. We were hitting on a lot of cylinders.
UNLV was willing to say, hey, hit us with these big plays. I think ULM will do more of like what Miami did, say, we don't want you to hit us with big plays. And I think
they won't cover our guys with safeties.
They offensively, because they've thrown for a combined 200 yards in 2 games, I think offensively they're going to be more of a slow let's just keep it on the ground and run this clock. And
even if they get one touchdown.
I'm going to say yes, A&M covers slightly.
All right, here's my pick. We are going to dominate this game, but I just don't think we're going to cover that.
48-10. I mean, I can certainly see 48-10.
I can see that too.
You know what, though? I'm taking it back. Jimbo really dials back in that fourth quarter in these kind of games. You could definitely see them getting outscored like 7-3.
Yeah, it almost happened against the backdoored us against New Mexico. I'm going to say we're going to kill them, but we're not going to cover that. So I'm picking ULM to at least cover.
My final score is actually going to be 41-10.
41-10.
Yep.
All right. That does it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube. See you next time.